Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Chatting with Nuts. This is episode number 95, and my guest tonight is, of course, you. It's going to be a mail-in episode or an AMA episode, whatever we want to do. You guys can ask me anything, but it's a good time for me to talk one-on-one with the community, with the best third guest of all time, which is Chat, which happens to be, well, the only other guest, so the second guest for this episode. I like to do these every now and then. It just makes me feel a little bit more in tune with everyone that's watching and watching after the fact, of course. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've done this, a lot longer than I had actually originally believed. I was doing these almost like once every 2 months, and it's been quite a while since I've done this. So we're going to be going through the chat this episode, just answering questions, talking about whatever comes up. I got some questions for you, Chat, tonight, at least one that I would like to kind of get the community's perspective on. But it's going to be a nice, relaxing, warm Friday night with the Friday Night Delight. That is moi. Reader's Journeys here says, sup. David Seaworth is here, says, it's a real honor to be here, Jimmy. Thanks for having me. No worries about me having to clear my busy YouTube schedule for this. Really, it's fine. The pleasure is all mine. I could not agree more. Got to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Paloma said, I'm so happy to be here for this live stream. I missed the latest For Whom the Bell Tolls and Why I Read this week because I was at work. No one likes that. No one likes work. I was off work today. I had a half day yesterday and I was off today, and we needed it. We needed it, let me tell you. I got to have kind of a me day today, which was very needed. So what's up, Justin? Good to see you. Kay Fox is here. There's all the usual suspects, which I love to see, a fantasy babble. Super nice to see y'all. And also shout out to everyone that's watching this after the fact, which is 99% of the people who watch this. Why do people still watch? I'm not sure. I am not sure. I gotta come clean though. Well, Sam says, you look thinner, Jimmy. Well, thank you. I am down probably like, I don't know, 210, like 18 pounds since probably like February. If not 18, it'd be at least 15, on purpose. Trying to get a little thinner, a little back in the swing of things. I mean, I'm always working out and active, but just actually maintaining a good caloric deficit, if you will. StoryTube is here, my favorite people in the world. I'm hoping that offer and bid you put in today gets accepted. Jana Rose Reed says, happy time zone all. Rough week at work. Tuesday, they told us our group has to come back to the office. No more hybrid schedule. Upset is an understatement, not company-wide. They are just jerks. Yeah, I feel for you. I feel for you for sure. I have not been thrilled with my day-to-day. Reader's Journey said, I quit my dumbass job, so I'm free as hell. Love to see it. We love to see it. Yeah, so I feel like a big fat phony. And that is because I've just not been reading as much lately. And I am in probably the biggest reading slump I've been in 6 years. And it's one of those things where I want to be reading, and I am still reading, but have you ever been so hungry that you don't know what you want to eat anymore? Someone like I'm starving. And like, well, what do you want? And you're like, I don't know. Nothing sounds good. That's me with reading right now. Multiple times this week, I was sitting and like watching whatever stupid YouTube video I was watching or some movie or something. And I'm like, man, getting lost in a book sounds great. But I just sit there and peruse my shelves of like, I don't know, at this point, like hundreds of or 1,000 books. And I'm like, yeah, none of this sounds good to me. And there's a few that like, I was thinking about starting, but I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. There certainly was a book this month, and I'm not going to mention it because I'll mention the wrap up, that sent me down a very sad rabbit hole of just I didn't like it. and it kind of just killed all my momentum for the month. I mean, absolutely just neutered it. And I don't know. I feel like I've been kind of drawn to sci-fi. Childhood's End, I read that at the beginning of this month, late May or whatever, and really enjoyed it. I'll talk about that more in the wrap up, but like something maybe in that same vein. I thought about maybe even reading Rama, but like, I don't know. I think what's gonna end up happening is I'm probably just gonna pull something from like the depths of the TBR that maybe wasn't gonna get fit in. Because next month I'm gonna start Rune Lords by David Farland, and I actually, to be honest, I'm really, really excited about starting a new fantasy series. I know I'm in a bazillion of them right now, but I would like to get one and like really make my way through it, which I do plan to do with Rune Lords, as long as I like it, of course. But I don't know. I've been doing poorly, I would say. And I'm good. Don't worry about it. But just like mentally, haven't been really, haven't been all there, and struggling with who I am, what I am, all those things. And sometimes it just leads you to you don't do anything, and it sucks. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been at. But I feel like a big phony because I am, I'm not reading like I usually do. And I can say that this is really a first. I've had this channel for 5.5 years. It's the first time, that I have felt like this. I'm going to have multiple books to talk about in the wrap up. So don't worry, the wrap up won't be necessarily light or anything. I have one book that I'm kind of curious how I'm going to talk about it. So it's not like I've accomplished nothing this month, but I just haven't found something that I want to pick up. The thing I'm considering is maybe Percival Everett, because I've just been such a huge fan of his this year. And I'm thinking that maybe he might be able to pull me out of a good old fashioned reading slump. Like I just feel like I'm not finishing. So enough of me babbling on. Darius here said, "How are you doing, Jimmy? Is the body cooperating?" It never is. It never is, but we force it. we force it. Reader's Journey says, "Oh man, I'm on a DNF train right now." I picked up a short book. I actually can't remember what it's called, which is a Blue Book of Nebu or something. Someone recommended it. By the way, whoever recommended it, thank you. I'm like halfway through it. I've been halfway through it for a week and a half, and I really liked it, but I haven't picked it back up. I'm not going to DNF it, but I'm like, why don't I just finish that book? I really enjoy it. I'm not sure. Been in a bad reading slump too. The Wandering Inn is helping for some reason. That makes one of us. Read something fun. I don't know. I read Guards. That was pretty fun. That's a fun book. I don't really read for fun. I mean, fun in the general sense, but like, I don't read a lot of books that just come across as like, that was a fun book. Doesn't happen very often. I guess I'm just miserable. I don't know. I guess I don't like fun reads. It's terrible. Adam K said, "Same here with the reading slam. Can't find anything that holds my attention at the moment." I feel like I'm not even giving things a fair shake. I'm not even picking them up. That's a worse thing. I almost wish I had started a bunch of different books and maybe wasn't getting grabbed. It would be like a process and be kind of fun to do another one bite book review where I read the first page of a couple books and decided which one was going to go on my TBR, if any at all. Maybe, you know what? Maybe that's the key. Maybe I should do an episode of that. It would get me in the mood, right? Would love to get lost in the book, but none of it sounds good right now. Maybe it's just me. Or maybe it's not just me. I mean, Stromboli Bone says, "Reading slump sounds like a certain somebody came in the clutch with a certain Patreon pick." Stromboli, you won already. Like, you don't have to do this anymore. You won. It's over. Like, you did it. I'm watching a Hobbit edit, a Hobbit fan edit for a Patreon pick, which I plan on starting this week. So David Seagrove said, "I'm actually convinced it's the change of the seasons throwing people's moods and vibes off. Many people seem to be in slumps. I had a soft DNF, a current favorite series, for not being in the mood." Yeah, I also, I tend to struggle for some reason, spring to summer. It's like I spent all winter getting cooped up, and then like everyone's ready to come out and like play, and I'm like, I'm not ready yet. And then I get this weird like melancholy. It's very strange, but that's depression. Laura's here, said, "Rereads for the win." I would like to reread something, but then I always just feel bad that I'm not reading something else, which is bad. Belltube says, hello. Question. Are you hiring an in-house ventriloquist? I feel like I might be a reasonable candidate. I am hiring a butler. And Butler Belltube has a ring to it, Brian. Annette said, got out of a slump recently by picking up 4 random short books from the library. Read them all in a week. It was great. Yeah, I am certainly wanting just short books. I'm going to be honest with you. After this past month, I think I might introduce a page or word count limit to the Patreon pick. It's been pretty reasonable to this point. Like, I think I've pulled some big books off there, like 11, 22, 63 and stuff. And that was great. But if I get a Patreon pick and I don't love it, right, and it's like 1,200 pages, I mean, it really just halts the month. And I'm very thankful for the Patreon pick. It's introduced me to so many new authors and stories and new favorites even, and also just some interesting stuff. But I think I might introduce some sort of limit, possibly. I'm still kicking around the idea. So Kevin says, Jimmy, we got to do the 12 with Tanner. What is the 12? Am I dumb? I don't know what that is. Justin said, imagine Jimmy looking at his shelves with his hands behind his back with just disappointment in his face. A real Black Throne move. Yeah, for real, though. Sarah Beth says, reread for sure. Also love Rune Lords. Well, I'm going to be starting it for the very first time next month. And I am excited about that. Maybe that's it. Maybe I should have just started Rune Lords early. Maybe that would have been the best. Somebody could do, said, my advice, read shorter books. I mean, I've been on the short book train for a while now. I am staring at The Passage, wondering why I started another 1,000-page book after the deluge, but I'm enjoying The Passage when I do pick it up. It's really, really good. Oh, darn. I dropped Station 11, farted out halfway through White Tea, tried to pick up some Murderbot, nothing going. It's a shame to hear. I really like Station 11, but I also understand how some people could find it to be a little bit, dry or maybe mundane, but I like it myself. So bro shot over 100 on the course. I shot an 88 today. What you know about that? Jimmy, who you are? The GOAT. I appreciate that. I finished my first book of June last night, and it was a book club book. Well, honestly, that makes me feel better. So maybe it's just a slow month in general. Let's all come together as underachieving readers, shall we? That's what I made this channel for. The Library of Alexandria, my God. If you folks were interested in watching me and Alan play Baldur's Gate 3, he uploaded part 1 a while back and has just this past week uploaded part 2 to our Baldur's Gate Evil playthrough. I think it's entertaining, but I'm a bit biased. Derry said, who are you? A good bloke. What's your purpose? I have no idea. Give your lovely wife a hug. Snuggle the fur babies, touch grass. That's what my therapist tells me anyways. Yeah, I am very fortunate. I have wonderful fur babies and a terrific wife, which is great. Were you forced back to the office as well? If you don't want to touch on it, no worries. No, so everyone else in my company was. But just me and a few others were designated remote. But, there's been a couple waves of layoffs. I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but yeah. My job title changed. Like my expertise, the thing I'm really passionate about and love, I don't do that anymore now, apparently. So, soul crushing stuff. But I'm very thankful that I am employed. So it could have been a lot worse. Fantasy Fanatic said, how's your golf game at the moment, Jimbo? Up and down. Just like golf always is. Some days I feel like I figured it out, and the other days I shoot over 100 and want to die. I think Jordan recommended it. You know what? I think Jordan did recommend it. I think I bought it on stream. Thank you. What up, Mr. Nuts? Not much. Just having a nice little chill Friday night, talking to the community, which I always appreciate. StoryTube said, Percy is dead easy to read, even when not reading. Had that for 3 months of the year, Wounded, and I Am Not Sydney Porter helped, and also Don Winslow. Is this just a sales pitch for Don Winslow? Is this what we're doing? Is that what this is? What's up? What's up, Mittens from Talking Story, blessing me with their presence. I think you have a stream tonight, don't you? Like 8? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. Mitch said, I am in a golden age when it comes to my reading. I cannot relate to any of this. I'm happy for you, dude. Some people got to be up and some people got to be down. And right now, you're up. You're up big on the scoreboard on me. Tyson said Dungeon Crawler helps for my slumps. Ironically, I was thinking about maybe even doing the second Dungeon Crawler crawl just to have something going on. But I don't know. We'll see. The ADHD reader said, read the trashiest, darkest read you can find. Offend your senses. That might be the move. Zest Pete says, bro, I'm in a big reading slump. I've only read 5 books this year. I want to read, but nothing sounds interesting. I've read the first chapter of so many books. This is my new existence. Hey, from someone who feels a little bit stuck right now, I think the best thing you can do is just keep reading those first chapters. Eventually one of them will click. Right? Right? Jimmy, do you do anything creative? Drawing, baking, crafting, DIY? Maybe it's time to go and learn something new. I mean, I consider this to be my creative outlet in a lot of ways. I know it comes off as like, I'm just talking or whatever, but between this and like Bend the Knee, I put a lot of thought into presentation, talking points, how to get across whatever I'm thinking at the time, and making interviews and such like entertaining. So for me, this is the creativity of my life. And, I don't love the job I'm doing of it. So maybe that's part of the problem. Noel said, I made it. Let's go. I love when people catch lives that have wanted to, which is great. Laura said, I need to go for a walk for my depression. If I don't get a chance to come back to this, I hope things pick up and ease up, Jimmy, at all. Hey, thank you, Laura. And congrats on the release of your book. Everyone go check it out. Available on Amazon. Should be of it. Yeah, it's on Amazon. Sam says, along with the season change, there have been many excellent video games recently. Reading has taken a bit of a backseat for me. Yeah, I've been kind of let down by a lot of video games lately. And like, I feel like whenever I'm not doing like reading or something that I really feel like I don't want to say should be doing, but I really love to do, I almost can never get myself to start doing something else, because I'm like, well, if I was going to do anything, I should do this. So I don't know. Feeling fickle. Very, very fickle. What's up, Joanna? Good to see you. Ross, love to see it. Belltube, who I offered a butler position a little bit earlier, said, say no more, sir. I'll have your bath drawn, an afterbath robe, slippers, and pipe ready expeditiously. Would you like a brandy or a sherry to unwind with? Yes, I would. That would be delightful. Thank you, Brian. Oh, Kev said the 12, the sequel to the Patches. I thought you were already done with it. My bad. No. I am like 40% of the way through, and I've been at 40% for about 2 weeks. Love the book. Like, loving the passage so far. Unfortunately, I don't know. I did pause it because I had to do some like the required reads, right? The Patreon stuff. So I was doing that. And then the slump hit, and I've just been, I've been cooked. I've been absolutely cooked. Yeah. The ADHD reader said the Illusion's been on my list for a while. I need to pick it up. Absolutely. I think it's so good. Probably the front runner for book of the year. Probably. There's probably some other, I don't know. There's some tough competition, but the Deluge for me really sticks out in my head. Alan said, Jimmy, I've read 4 books in June so far. How does that make you feel? It makes me feel happy. I love that you're reading. I saw some people have gotten, I think they've gotten Glenn Cook's new book. Is that out? I know you finished your reread, right? Are you reading the new Glenn Cook book? Is it out? Cookbook. K Fox said I was supposed to be picking up Station 11 soon amongst every other book on this planet, it seems. Station 11, K Fox, I think I could see it working for you. For sure. Also, by the way, the Station 11 adaptation on HBO is absolutely fantastic. I think the book is better, but the show's really good. Like, I think it's one of the most underrated HBO shows ever. Matthias says, what's up? Good to see you, man. Very, very good to see you. Oh my goodness, it's Jared Henderson, and he gives me a 5 spot, says, buy yourself a drink, good looking. Hey, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. By the way, folks, today is Jared's birthday. So wish our good friend Jared a happy birthday. Jared is a megastar on YouTube, but I love the fact that Jared comes around to, my channel or Joanna's or Alan's and kind of gets to unwind a little bit. Like, I think we, like this community, has got the opportunity to see a different side of Jared, the best side of Jared, some would say. And I'm just glad, not only that he's here tonight, but that he's found his way into this community. So wish Jared a happy birthday. He's a good dude, and he's got a lot of amazing things going on for him that I'm very, very excited about. Noel said, Jimmy, how would one go about inviting you to the channel? Usually just DM me somewhere. I mean, I'm really just on Discord or Instagram. I will let you know that June is pretty fried, so it might be a while, but always down to talk, to try to plan something. So give me a shout. You can find me on Instagram. I don't really post, but you can reach out to me there, and I will respond. StoryTube said that was, in fact, a sales pitch for Don Winslow. I knew it. Alan says, Jimmy, Jared thinks Moby Dick isn't about whaling. Well, Jared should learn how to read. Joanna said, I finished only one book in June so far, and I refuse to apologize. And a banana emoji. Am I missing some of the banana? Is it like a casual, like, I don't care, and you're doing it? Isn't the fingernail painting, isn't that the emoji of choice, usually? RJ tries to read, says, hi, why the F am I still awake? Because you're the best, bud. That's why. What's up, Austin? Good to see you. Jake says, I am rereading Feast of Crows. The Cersei chapters bring me joy. Same here. So, it's my favorite one to reread, to be honest. I always find a new detail that I didn't know before. Went on this big, long thing with Matt on Bend the Knee this past week and about Danny Flint. And it was incredible. That series, it's my favorite, but I'm always amazed by how many rabbit holes I can still go down, even after reading it so many times. Mitch said, don't worry if you were in a reading slump, you can always escape to the fountain of optimism that is the global news cycle right now. You know, that might have something to do with it. Maybe. Putrid Sunrise says, might I recommend Exquisite Corpse, about two gay serial killers who hook up in New Orleans and go on a blood-drenched rampage. Also an interesting time capsule of when it was written in the 90s. That sounds wild. Is it long? If it's more than like 300 pages, I think I'm out at this point. Ross said, Jimmy, have you checked out Soldier Son Trilogy by Rob and Hobb? I finished the first one last night. It's pretty decent. Yeah, I did. I covered it in a wrap up at some point, probably last year. I read the first one and I thought it was decent. Like I thought it was fine. I've heard that book 2, Forest Mage, is like arguably, I mean, some people have that as their favorite Rob and Hobb book, period. I really would like to get to it. But unfortunately, I don't know when that will happen. I do need to order it though. I'm going to read book 2. I don't know when. PNW said, sup, Sir Nut, just finished The Devils. It was fire, 4 stars, just started Empire of Silence, and so glad I did. Love to see this. Oh, my goodness. I love it. Dark One's Taint, the GOAT, said, hey, what's good, people? Finally, a CWN lined up with my schedule for more than 10 minutes. I bet you're probably in the gym, probably in the squat rack. Mrs. Nuts in the chat, our only moderator ever. I have been on audiobook train lately. Libby pushing all my holds at once may be part of that reason. There's nothing worse than when a Libby hold comes up and you're like, delay. It's the worst. Austin said I missed the Jordan Levitt CWN, but that's dope you got him on. Great for you and me both, Jimmy. He is a peculiar cat. I'm happy he got the W last fight. One of the few sincere book readers in the UFC and all of MMA. Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan was a fabulous guest. I mean, one, just really charitable. I mean, he has a million things that he could be doing or needs to do, I'm sure. And for him to take an evening and come and just chat with me was excellent. And I think that's one of, if not the most positive feedback I've gotten from a guest that was super unknown. And by the way, if you are watching and you did not watch the Jordan Levitt episode, I highly implore you to. It's very good. But I just had so many private messages of people just being like, hey, I didn't know that guy, but that guy was awesome. I'm like, yeah, he is. Jinx said, I feel the same, but with the gym, I just can't get myself to go consistently as I used to. Been chugging my way through the Storm of Swords, though. Hey, it's a marathon, not a race, and it's okay to have lulls. For me, the gym is just so ingrained into my habit that like rest days are actually hard for me to take, because if I don't go to the gym in the morning, I'm like, well, what do I do? What am I supposed to do if I'm not taking pre-workout to the dome at 7 o'clock in the morning? You know? K-Hod, I've been in the mood for nonfiction and historical fiction lately, not drawn to fantasy or sci-fi right now. So I am feeling like a little weird with fantasy, just because like so much of what's going on right now that people are really excited about are just things that I either find just to be okay or I don't like. And that's totally cool. I've had plenty of phases of hype that have worked for me. It's just like one of these times where I feel a little bit on the outside, and that's cool. I got other things to read, and you know, there's plenty of fantasy over the decades I haven't touched. Right, Kate Elliott has been on there forever. Rune Lords starting next month. But yeah, I would be lying to say that I don't wish that I was a little bit more in on the hype. I'm glad that I liked Will of the Many enough to be excited about book 2. I think that's pretty exciting that that's coming out this year. So I'm hoping that I get to be a part of that hype train. It'd be really nice. Yeah, Jimmy, I read The New Black Company. Why I read that as if you were angry. Like I can hear you. Yeah, Jimmy, I read The New Black Company. But when in reality, you're probably saying, yeah, I did. I read The New Black Company. Or you are yelling at me, and I'm not sure. Joseph Reed's book says, I finished Lies Weeping E-Arc today, which is the new Glenn Cookbook. It is a good addition to the Black Company series. I will never get tired of saying cookbook, ever. Super chat from BellTube, a $7.99 prepayment for the wage deduction I'll incur when leaving too many iron creases in your Summerlin's Master James. Master James is crazy. That is insane. That is crazy. Brian, thank you for the $7.99 spot. It was very generous of you. Don't need to do that. David Seaworth with the 5 spot. Cracks Knuckles. You embarked over 5 years ago on a quest to find series like A Song of Ice and Fire just as good. Can you give us 5 that have come close or are similar? So nothing has really come close. And what I realized, obviously that was the mission statement of the channel, was to find the next A Song of Ice and Fire for myself, as I've waited for Winds of Winter and probably will always be waiting. But I came to the conclusion, as I kind of started thinking about what makes A Song of Ice and Fire work for me so well, is like it's just too vast. There's too many things. So there's things that can remind me of certain aspects of A Song of Ice and Fire, but you know, nothing has really come close, I would say. So for me, this is actually going to be ironic. I think the Wheel of Time is one of the most #1 recommended things for, like, if you like A Song of Ice and Fire, do this. I think it's a pretty bad idea unless if you know exactly what the person's after. And the thing about the Wheel of Time that I think you could kind of relate, at least in my mind, is the fact that obviously there's a large cast of characters, but it's more so like the world building. Like, I do think Wheel of Time has some locations that feel very substantial and established and, like, you know, real. I love the setting of Wheel of Time. Not necessarily calling it Randland, but like Camelin. Shadow Logoth, is that what it was called? It's been a long time since I read them. So Wheel of Time was kind of like a part of that journey, and it ended up being a failure. But I could say that at least with, if you really like, you know, vast world, it has that. Dagger in the Coin by Daniel Abraham is always the first thing that comes to my mind. I think that it's really great. It's not quite as epic as many of the other fantasies that I've read, but I do think that it has a little bit of that George R. R. Martin feeling. Realm of the Otherlings obviously is probably the closest, like, total package, but it lacks some of the things that I really love about A Song of Ice and Fire. And then, of course, like, First Law is, like, you know, kind of been born from Game of Thrones. We all know that. I don't need to go into it. But, you know, even then, First Law is not A Song of Ice and Fire. It's very different, which is great. And that's probably why it's been so successful. You don't want it to be too derivative, of course. So those are the ones that come to my mind. But, like, for me to sit here and say that I have found 5 would be, you know, a lie. I think that there's a couple things out there that, like, that play in the same wheelhouse possibly, but nothing that I can just full sail say, yeah, this is exactly what you need. And I think some of that comes from the fact that George R. Martin has been influenced by so many different things that a lot of people probably don't know about. I mean, Stan Lee is like the most formative person for him, I would say. I know he talks about Roger Zelazny a lot, but Stan Lee, without Stan Lee, there is no George R. R. Martin, which is kind of crazy to think about. And there is some Stan Lee inspiration in his works, especially his earlier stuff. So I don't think that's a very good answer, David. If I ever sit down and film the video that I scripted out about this, I will let you know. Also, I'm going to be behind in the chat. It just is the nature of these things. I don't want to just like read through them. I'm just going to try to engage with what I see. So forgive me for being behind on the chat. It just is what it is. I will most likely, if you have a question, I will most likely get to it. Eric Boleyn says, barbecuing some burgers for the family with a cold beer and chatting with Nuts live. Let's go. Hey, have one for me as I drink this. Station 11 is amazing from Talking Story. You know, you're a stage play guy, right? I could see you really liking that. That's like, oh man, I didn't even think about it. That's like exactly what Talking Story would love. We should talk about it sometime. John, I need to have you back on the show. I've been meeting to. I got a couple other people that I gotta get in, but we need to have another episode. We had a good time. That's where 2 Pack of Ass was born. It was a good time. Noel said, I did message you on Instagram over a year ago. I fear Jimmy. It might be in my message requests. I don't check those. Send me a new one, please. Also, I didn't start checking my Instagram account about 6 months ago. So there is a chance that I missed it. But please send me it. Sagebrush said, I've been burnt out, so I started Brothers Karamazov. I love it. Hey, sometimes you just got to take a brick to the slump. Am I right? Oh, I bought it for you. You own that, Jimmy. Wait, which book are we talking about? Oh, the horror one about the serial killers. I knew it sounded kind of familiar. You did buy it for me. Amanda, you are the best. You are tremendous. I knew it kind of sounded familiar, but I'm like, you know, there's probably tons of like gay serial killer books out there, right? Also, you guys will remember that I said Dark One's tape was probably in the squat rack. He said, I may have just in fact left the gym. I know the community very, very well. Finished The Stand recently. Absolutely loved it. King is rapidly becoming a favorite author for me. Well, you got a lot of stinkers to sit through, but his hits are, well, they're hits. And I have also very much enjoyed so much of the Stephen King that I have read. And I hope to get to more of it soon. I've been talking about reading The Shining for like 5 years. I should probably do that at some point, right? Oh, Ross said, on the Hob topic, I lent a friend of mine Assassin's Apprentice. She said it's hard to get into since Fitz is annoying, and I didn't know how to break it to her that that's not going to stop. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, they just don't like Fitz, and I think that's fair. And it would make sense for them to not like Realm of the Elderlings, considering the fact that most of it is from the Fitz POV. Mrs. Nutt said, I've been waiting on Nightingale for months, and it said no delays, only one extension request. I must listen now. I didn't even know that you were listening. When are you going to finish Storm of Swords? God, you've been reading that forever. Jenna Rose said, yes, I'm yelling. Honestly, I would really love to be excited for a new epic fantasy series, something more than a trilogy. Yeah, I'm really into like the short standalone books right now. But, you know, I'm a fantasy reader. I would love to have a series that I could like get into and sink into. And I have started so many, but, you know, when a book, here's the thing. And I know I get a lot of flack for not reading on in series and starting them and reading book 2 like a year later. But here's the thing. If a series grabs me, it grabs me. And the last one I can think of that grabbed me was probably Book of the New Sun or The Second Apocalypse, specifically the sequels. once that got a hold of me, like I am willing to be swayed and to be persuaded into just reading one thing. It can happen. I did with Long Price Quartet, actually. I read straight through that too. I really enjoyed it. So even though I definitely appreciate standalone short books, I wouldn't mind a series. I wouldn't mind a series. Christian's here. He said, just here to peer pressure Jimmy to make the right choice and read Lonesome Dove. Maybe, is it time? Is that my slump buster? Because you and Andrew, my good mate Andrew, man, they've been on me to read Lonesome Dove. They've been on me. They've been on my back, just whisper my ear, Lonesome Dove, it's so good. Abercrombie loves it. Stephen King loves it. Maybe it's time. It's so big, though. I have to finish the passage before I even consider it. The next Song of Ice and Fire is War and Peace. I love that. Oh, apparently there's an XP feature now, by the way, in these live chats, and mine doesn't have it. I think it right now is in a pilot stage, or I didn't turn it on. I'm not really sure. Johnny Come Lately says the real next A Song of Ice and Fire was the books we met along the way. Pretty much. What A Song of Ice and Fire did for me was trying to find it, like the next thing for me. Turned out that I just really found that I loved reading, and I love like Realm of the Elderlings and Malazan, but I love them in totally different ways than I love A Song of Ice and Fire. And I love that. I love that I've had such varying experiences throughout all of fantasy. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so defensive when people try a Stormlight Archive or a Wheel Time or whatever it might be. And they say, yeah, I tried fantasy. It's not for me. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're saying. Like there's even in the same like niche of the genre, like epic fantasy, there is so much variety. Yeah, there's a lot of tropes and cliches that are whatever, right? There's a lot of repetitives. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if you look hard enough, man, you can really start to build out like a frame of like a lineage of reading through fantasy, which I think is amazing. It was one of the reasons why I really like reading Blood in the Mist, pre-Tolkien fantasy. And, you know, that made me have a whole new appreciation for like imagination before the entire genre was basically created around Tolkien. And obviously his influence is still felt today. I don't know. There's something very fun about diving into the genre and finding more and more and more. I always try to be very careful with saying things like, you know, fantasy just on the whole, there's not a lot of good fantasy coming out anymore. There's not like any more to read because there always is something to read. You know, there could be so many forgotten gems. Julian May, right? That was one I highlighted and enjoyed book 1 of. Didn't read book 2 yet, but like those things, you know, forgotten with time. There's always some of that stuff. Eric's had been in a reading slump since finishing paramedic school and having our 3rd kid. Super excited to start Rune Lords next month. I love that you're going to be reading Rune Lords with me. I think at this point, there's like 10 or 11 people who've told me they're going to start Rune Lords. So that's like almost an official read along. Almost. Jimmy, just to let you know, when I go on Instagram, it says I can't send you messages. This is getting tricky. This is getting very tricky. I will find it out. I will find you, and we will link up somehow, some way. Drop a comment on my reel, the only thing on my Instagram. That's how we'll get it started. Oh, David said with the things that are like A Song of Ice and Fire, curious if Malazan would make the list. Sure, it could. I mean, we could talk about how identity is explored in Malazan. A lot of epic world building. I mean, Malazan's on like a whole nother level when it comes to scope. I don't think there's anything quite like the scope of Malazan, but they're very, very different and told in a very different way. This is a good one. I knew I was forgetting something. Not Tad. No, obviously Tad Williams. I mean, the Dragon Bone chair. Like if I said Realm of the Elderlings is probably the closest. Oathsnard might be the closest. It could be. It really could be. I'm not sure. Now I'm thinking about it. And someone also mentioned Gentleman Bastards and King Killer Chronicles. See, I think King Killer Chronicles, just the way it's a retelling. I'm not saying that there isn't like vast world building, whatever, but it doesn't. I don't think it has that same vibe necessarily. Gentleman Bastards, I thought the writing was so good, and there was some stuff there that could be similar as well. There's just not a really good one for one, unfortunately. Puzzled Expression said Dagger in the Coin is amazing. I love Getter's character progression. Dude, Getter is one of my favorite characters in fantasy, as well as Kithrin. And is it West? The guard? I can't remember, unfortunately. Jimmy, what's the next sci-fi you're hyped about? Okay. There is quite a bit of sci-fi that I really want to get to. I really want to read Peter F. Hamilton. I've talked about that at length. It's just the size of the books that are kind of weighing me down with that. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty excited to read Rendezvous with Rama just because I enjoyed Childhood's End so much. It wasn't a perfect experience for me, but I would say that's up there. And Anathema by Neil Stevenson would also probably be very close to the top of the... Oh, and 7Zs or 7S or whatever. Amanda had read that, and I thought that sounded really good. Also by Neil Stevenson. But there's so much sci-fi. I feel like I have kind of just waited for a rainy day to really dive in and add a bunch of stuff to the TBR. I would just love to eat up all First Contact that we get. I love First Contact novels. It's like post-apocalyptic anything, and then right underneath that is First Contact. Like, those are probably my favorite premises that I can go into. And dystopias. I like dystopias. I know I'm basic, but I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, so Jenna Rose Reed said, I think it's great how a lot of our GOAT series don't have comparisons because each of them are so good with their strengths. So I think it's okay if you haven't found the series like A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, and also, like, I've read A Song of Ice and Fire like 6 times, right? I am getting something totally different out of that story. Like, I've not read another series that many times. The only thing I've probably read that many times is the Bible. I think I read the Bible like cover to cover probably like 7 or 8 times, maybe more. I like A Song of Ice and Fire much more than that. But I think it's just become something totally different. That's the best way I could describe it, unfortunately. DK Moon said, met Stan Lee in the early 90s. He was old then. Yeah, I can imagine. That's really cool that you met him, though. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I was also checking for Malaz in there eventually, even if it did scratch some itches. Yeah, and you know, there's a little bit, you know, Second Apocalypse. Like, there's always little pieces, but there's never going to be a full sale one-for-one, unfortunately. You know, so it's unfortunate. Are you happy or sad, Jordan Levitt, our last guest, no longer doing the twerk celebration? I personally was a big fan of the twerking, to be honest with you. Doug says, you could try the Wildcards anthologies that Martin edited and wrote parts of years ago. Too dark for me, really like them, but they might work better for you. I actually have the first one, and I've heard really good things about many of the very first ones. He brought in people like Daniel Abraham. I mean, there's tons of authors who have worked on Wildcards. And I've been reading through all of George R. Martin's other works, like slowly, mostly his short fiction. So Wildcards is on that list for sure. And I'm kind of excited to see his take on it. It seems like it's kind of like a messed up superhero anthology, which could be fun. Superheroes really aren't my thing, but if anyone could do it, it'd be George R. Martin. Rob Riley says, recently finished Realm of the Otherlings and the Second Apocalypse series. Enjoy your discussion videos. Did you read Julian Jane's Origin of Consciousness, the Bicameral Mind, after Aspect Emperor? So I have known about that book. I've never read it cover to cover, but I've known about that book and the theory in it probably during Malazan, I think I heard Erickson talk about it. And since then, I've seen a bunch of other interpretations of it. It's really fascinating. I think it's a really cool device to use. I guess you could call it a device in stories. I think that it leads to some crazy things. And ironically, one of my favorite versions of this is from Severed Echoes by Anya Dillon, who is my friend, but self-published a really wild book. And the Bicameral Mind absolutely plays a role in that book and is actually maybe my favorite example of it. So it's a book I really would love to read cover to cover, but I have to assume it's somewhat dry. I don't know that for sure, though. Also, shout out to you for watching some of my favorite stuff I've ever made. I appreciate that. PNW said, Faithful and Fallen to me is easily the most similar to Song of Ice and Fire, still very different, but similar vibes. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying for sure. For me, I would say it's probably further away than the other stuff that I've mentioned. But again, maybe it's the multiple POVs, whatever it might be, right? Super chat from Evie, a $9.99, a 10 spot. Thank you very much. I think Carlos will co-sign this recommendation, God's Country by Percy Everett. Short, witty, incredibly nuanced. I think I thought I knew of most of his work. Is God's Country, that's not his Western, right? If I'm not mistaken. And also, thank you for the 10 spot. You've piqued my interest. I feel like Percival Everett, the reason why I've been kind of considering maybe just bouncing into him and having him bust up the slump is just because there's always like a certain level of anger in his books that I really like, but he's also able, it's actually very similar to Abercrombie in some ways. And this is one of the things I liked about The Devils, is the mood I was in when I read it is just like, things are messed up, but you're like, yeah, what can, it's the Sopranos. I mean, what can you do? And there's something about that I like. I don't know. Percival Everett has like a certain level of anger, but he doesn't let it completely control the entire story. And he's still funny. He's still thoughtful. There's even some hope in there, usually, depending on what he's writing. And I think he's pretty fantastic. So Mrs. Nutt said, I'm in the middle of like 6 books. I should really finish one. You should finish Storm of Swords. Or you're sleeping on the couch. Derry said, calling out your wife for taking time with Storm of Swords, that's a decision. It's all for the memes. Belltube says, sir, a certain checkmarked booktuber is requesting I have, I believe, Wolf Hall on your golf tees. Is this something you would like me to proceed with or politely decline with your regards? Decline with my regards and send him a pair of clippers so he can cut that hair. I mean, what are we doing over here, Jared? Oh my God. Mitch said, how is Wolf Hall going? It is on pause. You know this. You're stirring the pot, Mitch. You're a pot stirrer, okay? Sarah Beth is saying Lonesome Dove is amazing. P&W said Lonesome Dove is probably the best book you've never read. Quinn is saying Lonesome Dove. Geekus Girlis, which is kind of a wild name. I hope I said that right. Yes, it's time for Lonesome Dove. Oh my God. Jeez, oh whiz. Brady, what's up? Said, I'm making my way through the Book of the New Sun at the moment. Probably the most fun I've had reading since reading Malazan. Yeah, I definitely had a good time with it. It was challenging, but just kind of intoxicating at some points. Like I was really wrapped up in the entire thing. And if I had to make a reread list, Book of the New Sun would probably be in the top 3 rereads that I would like to do. Every single person I've recommended Lonesome Dove to has said it's one of the best books they've ever read. I mean, I've never seen such unanimous request for this. Jimmy, if you pick up Lonesome Dove, let me know. Someone has been pestering me to read it for ages. So here's the thing. Oh, this is Yolanda. Carlos is pressure. I think that's what's happening here. So here's the thing. I have to finish The Passage, which is like a good another 600 pages. And then I have Rune Lords next month. And then whatever next month's Patreon pick will be. If I can get through all of those, then I could start Lonesome Dove. I just cannot start another like 1,200 page book while I have The Passage going, because people are going to think like I'm mid on The Passage. I might end up being, but as far as like 40% in, I think it's pretty diesel. Like I love it. So, Austin said there's a beauty in difference. If you found something good and it hit all the same things, would they not both be made lesser by it as a Song of Ice? Well, one of them would, right? And it would probably be the one I read second. So, like one of the things, like I see people who read something that's like really derivative. For instance, like Empire of Silence, right? I see people read that and then they go back and read Dune and they're like, well, I just like Empire of Silence. I read it first. I know it's newer and I know it's inspired by Dune, but I like it more than Dune. And like, yeah, I could see that. Whatever you come to first, most likely will be the one that you end up choosing. Not always, but I think in general. ADHD reader said, I think fantasy is in a transition period, trying to find footing. Trends are kind of making it hard to love. So I don't think so. I don't know if the trends really necessarily affect me like loving fantasy or even finding new fantasy to read. I've read more like new release fantasy than I had realized this past year and in 2024. I'm not like a new release guy. I'm not going out every Tuesday, with a notebook being like, oh, there it is. I knew it was coming today. But it's more so the trends like of doing this, like of being part of a community that reads online, and you see people getting like, excited about things, and it's fun to be excited about that. Transition period. I'm curious if it is, or is this just the world we live in? It's fast fashion now, very fast fashion. How many times have we seen someone put out a video and be like, best day, whatever, best book ever. And then like 7 more of those videos come out and you're like, man, everyone really loves this book. And then you don't hear about it ever again. Rage of Dragons is a great example of this. By the way, I like Rage of Dragons quite a bit, but it obviously for me has not stood like the test of time in the sense that like, it's not an all-time favorite. I thought it might be when I read it. But that's fast fashion. It kind of keeps moving. So maybe it is a transition period. I'm not sure what to or what it's leaving necessarily. I do think that there's like, the darker fantasy, the more pessimistic fantasy is kind of being, kind of phasing out into something that's a little bit more approachable, maybe a little bit more hopeful. I think that's where like the whole cozy fantasy trend comes in. And I do think it serves a purpose, especially with like the world and the state that it's in. I think people are allowed to like want to take a break from things. I'm not one of those people, but I get it, Lonesome dove, get some friends, you loser bird. That's what I've been saying for years, man. I'm glad someone finally said it. Aaron says Memory Star and Thorn is my top A Song of Ice and Fire adjacent recommendation. Yeah, especially with the sequels of Last King of Ostenard. God, I love that series so much. It's so good. One of the reasons why I've never made a top 10 series list is because like, I don't know how I start. I don't know. Like it's obvious A Song of Ice and Fire would be number 1. Like, I don't even know if I should put it in the video, right? Like, it's like, this is number 0 and then go back from there. But, I started looking at The Last King of Ostenard, Malaz, and Realm of the Elements. I'm like, where, in what order do I put these things? The Second Apocalypse, Book of the New, like, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's tough. Maybe I'm a coward. That's why I haven't done any top 10 lists for my all-time favorites. Derry said, fantasy and science fiction is the section of reading that defies being pigeonholed. Every other genre has a structure pattern to follow. They're set in an existing reality and they share that. Yeah, I would agree with that. But also, there's stuff in other genres that do have like formulas. Like, I know what you're saying, but like there's actually stuff in those genres that actually end up stepping out too, which is awesome. I think every single genre, no matter what it is, I don't care if it's like smut, whatever, like there's always somebody trying to do something new and inventive and outside the box. And I love that. I think that that's amazing. I think that's one of the cool things about genres though. It's the curveballs, right? Spot Center. Jimmy, my son made his debut on the Indie Mayhem show this week. He also made 2 hype videos for the upcoming IWC 621 Enjoy Wrestling and Mr. Small 7.5. Hey, give him my congratulations. Love to see it. Love seeing people get active in that community, and always thankful that you show up and drop a message. And the super chat's obviously super generous. You don't have to do that, but thank you very much. It's very, very kind of you, and it's always good to see you, dude. Crown of Stars is also close. Yeah, I think that's the Kate Elliott one. That's the one I've been wanting to read for forever. Holly said, I'm in a sci-fi mood too. Yeah. If I was in a mood, it would be sci-fi. Sarah Beth said the next Fonda Lee. When does that come out? Isn't it sci-fi? Right? Or I might be wrong. I might just be wrong. Thornall said, I've been meaning to read Rama for quite some time. It's been on the list for a long time for me, but after Childhood's End, I am definitely more keen to read some Arthur C. Clarke. And yeah, it is getting an adaptation by by Denise. I think it's how you say his name, Denise. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. Anathema is so good. I hear it. I just got to get through those first 200 pages of clock mechanisms. Children of Doom When Network historians will recall you started it years ago. Official series, is Frank a hack. Mitch, I'm not even gonna lie to you, dude. I was kind of hoping no one remembered I started Children of the Dune. I like Children of the Dune. I just forgot I was reading it, which happens sometimes, dude. God, why did you have to remember that? Like, I was really hoping no one... Mitch, you're the worst, dude. Fantasy Fanatic said, I tried Childhood Zen. I put it down this morning at about 30%. Just couldn't get into it, unfortunately. Yeah, hey, I totally understand that. It's still, it's older sci-fi, so it has a lot of the things that people get hung up about of older sci-fi, like not the greatest characters of all time, a little bit of, or I should say a lot of bit of exposition and kind of telling you, but I really like it. And I have a lot to say about it, and I'll save it for the wrap up, but certainly not going to be a home run for everyone. No doubt. Okay, here we go. Doug said, if you want first contact, one of the best is Moat in God's Eye by Niven and Pornell. Mrs. Nuts, can you write this down for me, please? Would be great. Sci-fi wise, just read Project Hail Mary and probably going for Born by Vandermeer soon. So Project Hail Mary I thought was just okay. I thought it was fun. But I think Born by Jeff Vandermeer is like terrific. I think it's a 5-star book. I hope you like it. I don't mean to hype it too much, but I really like Born by Jeff Vandermeer. I've actually been really considering reading the sequels of Annihilation. I know there's a lot of people who hate the sequels. I know, but like, I just want to see what I think of them. And I might even just reread Annihilation because it's so short. I think about Annihilation a lot. And Vandermeer is someone who's like a student of the game. He is just so passionate about writing in sci-fi and fantasy for that matter. And he just seems like a really cool dude. And I think he's a really talented writer as well. So a Bitter Draft said, haven't caught a CWN live in forever. Sup, folks? Good to see you. Love to see it. Love whenever we have returning people. Mockingbird by Walter Tevis happens to be a great book and a dystopia, and your friend just read it, and it's about a robot with depression about the world. A robot with depression? Is this Murderbot? Is this a Murderbot ripoff, Carlos? So Jordan Drew. Cheers, our last guest from last time. The Bible is goated. I just hate that we're living in the sequel right now. And he said, ooh, I hated his twerking, to be honest. The Bible is goated, isn't it? Matt on Book said, hi, Jimmy, and everyone. What's up, Matt? Good to see you, dude. Jana Rose Reed said, honestly, I can't pick between Malaz and Realm of the Eldlings for all-time favorite series. I know I will get something different out of both every time I reread them. Both give me tragic, emotional hurt. Yeah, it gets to the point where like you enjoy them so much and for such different reasons. You're like, why am I comparing these two things? Like, I'm not a real big fan of doing that. Sometimes I will, and it's just a fun exercise, but it stresses me out. Derry said, when it comes to favorite series, there's also a moment in time that enabled the connection to hit so hard. That connection may not have been as strong as another time. No competition is possible. Yeah, totally. Very well said. Who are they going to hire to finish the Bible series? We getting wins, GTA or Bible 2 first? We're getting GTA first, without a doubt. Johnny Come Lately said, imagine waking up after being choked out and Jordan is twerking, about ready to retire. Hey, it could also be motivation. Like, if I do this to someone else next time, I get to twerk. I like that. Silver lining. Carlos has not read the first Bible. You need to get on that, bro. Okay. So that is whatever it was. God's Country is his Western satire. I think Wounded is Percy Everett's Western from what I have Wounded, but he has a couple Westerns apparently. Okay, good to know. Very, very good to know. Four Corners of the Page. This is a new guy I like. I like this guy. Talked to Alan and held his own. I thought he did a nice job. Jimmy, your Baker video discussions with the others have been saving me. Love those books, but they're wild. Yeah, I mean, those videos that I did with Amanda and Mark are some of my favorite videos I've ever done. One, because I love Mark and Amanda so much, and I think they both had like brilliant things to say, but also just like, it's been a long time since I've been that fired up about a series. You know, you start to wonder like, oh, are there going to be any other big series that are going to like really captivate me? And that was one of them. And it demanded me to talk about it. Sometimes it was more difficult than it probably appeared, especially like, how do I say this on YouTube? Like my parents are watching. Ahoy! Really liking Stone of Farewell right now. This is Books of Genghis Khan. When did you last read Memory, Sorrow, and Thor, and how many times? I've only read it once, and I read it, 4 years ago, but I just finished the sequels last year, and I like the sequels more than the original trilogy by a hair. And I think the whole thing is just too good. ADHD reader says, I sadly dropped out at Storm of Swords, which is apparently peak of Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, I would say if you didn't enjoy, I mean, I do think getting into like 60% in the book is, there's like 2 climaxes. But if you're not feeling it and you didn't like A Storm of Swords, I think you're perfectly cool to drop it. That would make total sense to me. I just see so many people still pitching Lonesome Dove. It's going to have to happen. Bean says, have you heard of A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson? It's about a guy preparing for and walking the Appalachian Trail. I thought it was a fun and funny read that got me out of a slump recently. Mrs. Nuts, write this one down as well. You know I love a good Appalachian story. Let's go. Let's go. Brian Rogers says, frontrunner for my book of the year is Hey You Assholes by Kyle Siebel. Short fiction with humor, heart, and realness. Feels like your coworker telling crazy stories about his weekend. A hell of a title. Joanna is now adding to the Lonesome Dove. Oh, man. Rebecca coming in to balance the scale said, I'm 20% through Lonesome Dove. And guess what? Struggling with the slow pace, but enjoying it. Maybe we'll get a middle of the road opinion and I'll balance. I can put it back down the TBR. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? A 2 spot from David Seaware said, favorite series that are nothing like A Song of Ice and Fire. The 3 Body Problem. Remembrance of Earth's Past. That's probably my favorite series. That's just off the top of my head. But like, I think it almost shares exactly. I'm sure I could find something, but it's first glance, exactly nothing to do with anything A Song of Ice and Fire. But I really love that series quite a bit. It's fantastic. Lonesome Dove is an 800-page book that reads like a 500-page book. That's nice because I've been reading some books lately that are like 300 or 400 pages and they feel like 800. It's not even the book's fault. I think it's just me. I think I'm broken. Hi, Lauren. Good to see you. Oh, Rob Riley said Audible has a decent version of The Origin of Consciousness. I do like nonfiction on audio more. In fact, I would say it's probably my favorite type of audiobook is actually nonfiction. I used to listen to them all the time when I was on the road wrestling. Belltube said, I believe we are in luck. The internet site eBay is offering a home hair care system called a Flowbee for M. Henderson. For Mr. Henderson. It appears to be gently used. I shall investigate further. Brian, this is the funniest thing you've ever typed in my chat box. The Flowbee, like from Wayne's World? Dude, terrific bit. Brian is not only a legendary guest on the show, but also a legendary commenter. The Flowbee, dude. What a throwback. Fabled Reader said, just drop all current reads and buddy read Emily Henry with Alan. I hit up Alan. You can ask him. I texted him. I said, hey, if you pick up Emily Henry, you let me know because Mrs. Nuts says I should read her. So I'm down. Okay. I'm totally down to read some Emily Henry. I'll try anything. Reading with Rebecca Nicole said, top 10 apocalyptic and top 10 first contact videos win. You know what's funny about that though, Rebecca, is that I probably have read 10 apocalyptic books. I don't think I've read 10 first contact books. I have these premises that I love dearly, and I never read them. Why? I'm so dumb. And there's so much out there to do. I wish I was like, one of these people who can do like project reads. I think that would be fun. I will say I have read a lot of post-apocalyptic fiction in the last 9 months. I'm not complaining. I have, even the books I didn't like out of it, I still enjoyed it. And getting like a broader sense of like things that have been written in that subgenre is really, really cool. The Last Contract of Isako is a sci-fi. Interesting. Oh, it's Denis, not Denise. I called him Denise. What's he going to do? Who's he ever beat? Philip in Holy Wars doesn't seem to be one of his interest. Brady said, I think the next Fonda Lee is going to be a Japanese-inspired cyberpunk. The Japanese part could be cool, but the cyberpunk part, it's a gamble. I can't say, I really, really liked William Gibson's Neuromancer. So, hey, there's a chance I could like it. And I like Cyberpunk, the video game. So maybe I shouldn't, I shouldn't judge until I read it. Dark One Stain said, so I recently watched a review of Quan Mill's book, and I got to say, seems like a guy has plenty to explore thematically in his seemingly idiotic, almost blaxploitation books. Yeah, they're highly, highly crazy. And I think very misogynistic. So I only read one of his books, and it was kind of just to see what the hubbub was about. But the misogyny was crazy, like on full display, and was so distasteful. The ironic thing, though, is like I don't think he's completely talentless with writing. It just so happens that he does it in a manner that is just like absurdly offensive. Loved Annihilation. Hey, me too. It was pretty good. Annihilation sequels are great. Good writing still. Who hates them? This is just, you hear people talking about these things, and I've heard a lot of people that loved Annihilation really not enjoy the sequels as much, but there's always an example of both. My first Contact TBR includes Contact by Carl Sagan and Rejoice by Steven Erikson. I have Rejoice, and I have seen the movie Contact and really enjoyed it. I don't know if I've heard too much about the book. Like, do people really like it, or do people just watch the movie? Andrew Krause just got here. How you liking the end that won't stay still? The wandering B&B, if you will. You'll have to tune into. I'm going to be annoying and say you have to tune into the wrap up, but spoiler alert, it ain't for me at all. Not even slightly. HR says Annihilation sequels have the same vibe, even though they're not at all like the first book. Try Vandermeer's Ambergris books. It's his Baslag. We forgot to talk about China Medieval earlier when I was talking about my favorite series. Baslag's up there too. Way too much. There's way, 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 way too much. Okay, Adam K said, I second the Ambergris. I'm probably saying that wrong. Really enjoyed those and don't hear much talk about them. Okay, you've piqued my interest. And it's also lesser read, which makes me kind of want to be a hipster. Maybe. Austin said, making very little progress in something wicked this way comes this way, whatever it is. I read the first chapter of that a long time ago and really liked it, and then I never continued because I'm a bastard. Wait, what about Solenoid? You still reading Solenoid, right? Are you just like, do you have a shovel and you're just digging up all these skeletons from my reading graveyard? Solenoid is a book that I started and was trying to read like a chapter a night. It was working really well. But then at some point I just felt like I wasn't able to give it, like I missed a few nights, you know how it is. And I wanted to give it my full attention. I loved what I read of it, but it's going to be one of those things where when I read it, it's going to be the only thing that I read. Same thing with Wolf Hall, by the way. I really liked Wolf Hall, some of it. Some of it I was a little like, what's going on here? But those are books I really want to give like my main attention to and not, shortchange it. Because you're only going to get to read it first for, one time. Four Corners of the Page said, I like you too, Jimmy. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Noel said, I also think it's really cool that you haven't found a comparable to A Song by Some Other City. It keeps this fairly special, I think. Yeah, for sure. Lauren Spear says, if you're in a sci-fi mood, Wolf Hall might hit the spot. Dude. That was fabulous. You got me. You got me pretty good there. Oh my goodness. That was good. That was really, really good. Jing said, I did like The Darkness That Comes Before. I still need to get into book 2. I like book 2 a lot. So take that for what it's worth. You should get to book 2. I know that's heresy coming from me, the person who never reads book 2, but you should read book 2. You really should. Lonesome Dove is cool. All right, we're starting to get a little bit more lukewarm. This is what I like. I like bringing it down. You know what I'm saying? I need someone to just flatten this thing for me. Dark One Stain said, I need to finish The Great Ordeal still. The series is absolutely fantastic, but the slump is real. I get you, man. I'm right there with you. The Great Ordeal won my book of the year about 2 or 3 years ago, which, by the way, is like such a bad idea. as a YouTuber. Like if I ever wanted this thing to like grow and more people to be here, why would I put a book, 6 of a series no one read as my book of the year, which also happens to be a book that's very sparsely edited? Like what a dumb, I'm bad at this, but man, I love that book. There's a head on a pole behind you. It's one of my favorite videos I've done. A walk in the woods is a great window into hiking the Appalachian Trail. Very cool. Oh, Holly, I'm reading The Dark Forest. I think that's the peak of that trilogy, even though I love the last book as well. A couple things in the last book I didn't love, but still enjoyed it very much so. Jared said, Lonesome Dove is the poor man's Wolf Hall. Let the infighting begin. I love this. Noel said, I am also a broken reader. It's okay. We're going to get through it, guys. We're going to get through it. It'll be fine. The world within the word says Wolf Hall is the poor man's Ulysses. I mean, this is just, I can't even keep track of all the shots that are being taken. This is pretty good. Oh, Brian Rogers, this is for the Floby. He says, it sucks while it cuts. Well, it certainly does suck. Fantasy Fanatic said the Butler Brian thread throughout this stream might just be the funniest thing ever. I would agree. Brian is one of the most entertaining people that we've ever been blessed to have on this side of YouTube, in my opinion. Criminally underappreciated. Austin says, I would be interested in favorite nonfiction books or topics that you're into outside of books. So physics, mostly physics. I read everything that Brian Greene wrote and Lawrence Krauss until probably 2016, 2017. Lawrence Krauss kind of sucks now, which is unfortunate. He's just one of those people that just wants to be relevant. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So physics books mostly is what I was really into. And I also very much enjoy biographies, but I haven't read as many of those in a long time. So those are probably the big ones. Evolutionary biology as well. I think that stuff's really fascinating. Very cool. As you can tell, very boring nonfiction reader. Jimmy, Wrecking the Mountain in the Sea. It has First Contact vibes, but not. Is this one of those things like on Reddit where someone's like, I want a cozy fantasy to like just dip my toes into, and someone's like, have you read Malazan? Is this what you're doing to me now? Is this Mountain in the Sea your Malazan recommendation on Reddit? Is that what this is? I'm just kidding. Andre said, incredible how it was easier to get you to say yes to Emily Henry than to Lonesome Dove. She really must be a legend. Here's the trick. She writes 300-page books. That's the trick. Also, I do find like a pull of trying new things. Like I've never read a romance novel. Well, I guess I have technically, but I haven't read an Emily Henry one. And there's a lot of talk about old Emily Henry, though I heard her latest book was not that good. Veraconium is a great apocalyptic dying earth fantasy series. Just saying. I believe I have that. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I have a lot of books that need to be read. HR said, speaking of post-apocalyptic, Jimmy, have you been watching The Last of Us season, played the games? So I played the first game, and then I watched Mrs. Nuts play the first game, and then Mrs. Nuts beat Last of Us 2, and I watched the whole story and really enjoyed it, by the way. I mean, there's some things that I think that could be different or whatever. And I think that the creators were a little bit too optimistic with the empathy from video game players. But I have not watched the show. I have not watched a single second of the show, not because I hate it, but because I just feel like I know the story. And for some reason, like, I don't know. I just liked it as a video game, I guess. I think it's a phenomenal story. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean that as like a slight. Like, I think it's amazing narrative, but I'm not sure. Not sure why not. First Contact Classics. Footfall by Niven. Foreigner by... Matt, are you just picking authors that you know I can't pronounce? Like, is that what you're doing right now? Is that what you're doing to me? We need better sci-fi about AI. I read a book about AI called Life 3.0. I think it was published in like 2012 or 13. And it postulated like this idea of like AI having all these advances and like what would Life 3.0 look like. And I don't know how well it's aged, but I think about that book all the time because some of it definitely, like he does this really long hypothetical situation where AI takes over like media, and it's basically going to happen or it is happening now. And I'm like, man, that guy was way ahead of his time. I think I've talked about that before on here though. Can you recommend some post-apocalyptic fiction? I love these types of stories and have read The Stand, Station 11, Swan Song is also on the list. Might have forgotten some that I have read. There's a couple that I think you could enjoy. I think that so there's fantasy post-apocalyptic, right? That's not just the Earth. But I'll stick to our world. Parable of the Sower. I think it's an interesting book that you'll have an opinion about. You might not love it, but like you'll have something to say about it whenever you're finished, no matter what. There's a lot to that book and a lot of emotion. The Passage, honestly, I haven't even finished it, but I'm like, this is pretty damn good. And then I would count The Deluge in that. I think Library Ladder would back me up on that. I think The Deluge is like my favorite, possibly post-apocalyptic book. The Road. I love The Road. I know it gets a lot of flack, but I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I'm trying to think. I've read a lot, but now I'm blanking on the spot. But those are some good ones to start out with. I also think this Ken Scholes series, Lamentation, is that what it's called? The Psalms of Isaac. Book 1, kind of a post-apocalyptic fantasy world. Very, very cool. Book of the New Sun, a little bit post-apocalyptic, possibly. I also think that that's rather good. Interesting. Didn't hear that part. Talking about Quan Mills. Yeah. I could talk to you. We could talk about it. Yeah. It's a difficult book to talk about online. The book Contact is brilliant. I actually have a review for that one. Hey, okay. I think I knew that, actually. Rejoice was all right. Yeah, I see up and down things about Rejoice. I've heard some people love it. I've seen there's a huge Erickson fans that don't love it. It's kind of polarizing. Jimmy, have you read City of Thieves by David Benioff? Might be a good little slump buster. I have not. I've heard it's really good. I've heard pretty much nothing but good things about it. And I always see it at the bookstore and I'm always eyeing it up, but I don't know. It never seems to call to me, I guess. Let's see. It made me dive in Contact. K Fox is talking about. It made me dive into Sagan's NF stuff and discover some of my favorite NF being nonfiction. Got you. Jana Rose Reed said, sorry you're enjoying Wandering In, Jimmy. I enjoy it, but I get it. Yeah, I'm thrilled people love it, but not I, unfortunately. Derry said, I've read Contact. I really enjoyed it, but Sagan's writing didn't engage me so well that I've reread it, but I've watched the movie multiple times. I really, really like the movie quite a bit. It's a little dated now, but I still think it holds up pretty well. So, Meg Barrison said, hey, Jimmy, I've read Sagan's Contact several times. One of my faves. Okay, so there are some like legit Sagan fans out there for his fiction, which is pretty cool. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you. Matt on Book said, Jimmy, you're a post-apocalyptic fan, but I can't remember. Have you read A Canticle for Leibowitz? So I started at probably a year or two ago, and I got maybe 30, 40 pages in, and I was like, oh, I am not in the mood for this because it was very slow and very like dry. It's probably the way I would describe it. It has inspired so many things and has been such a giant in that genre that I will read it one day, but I'm going to have to be in the right mood for it. So I have attempted it and plan to go back to it at some point. So StoryTube says, Lonesome Dove is the worst book in the history of books and bad things. You shouldn't read it. In fact, if you have it, burn it. I know you have it. Burn it. Live on stream? Possibly? Carlos said, Yolanda has gone to bed. I have been unleashed. Daniel says, I'm reading Night Shadow myself. I think there's a read-along happening somewhere, but I am unaffiliated. It's just a coincidence that I am also reading it. Night Shadow. What is Night Shadow? Let's look it up. Because by the time I get to the answer, it's going to be like, Night. I put Night's Death. Night's Shadow book. Oh, Sebastian de Castell. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, Greycoats. Been wanting to read that for a long time. I read chapter 1 of the first book and thought it was fun. Lonesome Dove is cool, but I don't recall there being a single dove. DNF. Can't stand that. Hate false advertisement. Trying some reverse psychology. I mean, it's all over the place. I don't know what to believe. Mitch said, will you ever give Andor a chance, or do you simply not respect the people singing its praises? I respecting people's praises is independent of the fact that, no, I will never watch Andor, ever. Not because I think it sucks, or I just have no interest in it, unfortunately. The Kama Sutra is a fun nonfiction read. That's going to be the next read-along in August. So get your stretch bands out. Get your stretch bands out and your butt plugs. We're doing the Kama Sutra. Krause vaguely defended Jeffrey Epstein's actions. You can look it up. Yeah, no, Krause is a moron now. It's very unfortunate. He also, just went off the deep end. I don't know. Whatever. It sucks. I actually met Lawrence Krause in 2015, and he was very kind, and he signed my book, and we talked for a good bit, and seemed like a solid guy, but he is just completely out of his mind. I could go into this, but I think it just happens with certain people who never probably expected to reach fame. And then once they have a platform, they don't even know what to do. They just lose their minds. And, but it's no excuse really, because he's an adult and smart. He's not a dumb guy. He's just crazy, which is unfortunate. Bep says, Jimmy, I finally had enough and started Game of Thrones on your recommendation. The FOMO was too awful to bear. I'm having an absolute blast. I love to hear that. Beps. Let's go. HR said Bill Bryson also wrote the short history of nearly everything, which is a highly rated pop sci book on the universe. That's actually sounds really cool. Jimmy, if your taste in nonfiction is boring, mine is like falling asleep in the middle of Dune Part 2. Matt on Book says, people who refuse to watch Andor just hate themselves. Well, I do hate myself, so that actually checks out. And that says, do not listen to the haters. Emily Henry is delightful. I've heard it's fun. I've heard it's a good time. K-Fox says, no, my Malazam Rex still is the overstory. Definitely first contact there with trees. I got it. You would love this, K-Fox. Every single time I walk into my Barnes & Noble that's local to me, Richard Powers' Overstory is always on one of the front tables. Every single time. And every single time I think of you. And I'm like, K-Fox would like this. I should read it soon. I got to be in the mood to read about trees, though. It's going to be hard. Derry says, I'm loving the nonfiction book Bitch by Lucy Cook. Sarah wrecked it ages ago, and I read a chapter every now and then, exploration of gender from a biological standpoint. Sounds interesting. Great title. Asa had been reading a lot into physics, not necessarily done. So in book form, definitely look into some weird quantum physics stuff, virtual particles, zero-point energy, Hawking radiation, and how it connects. Yeah, there's a lot of thought experiment stuff out there too. I was always really interested in applied physics. I love things that can be shown and proven, and there's so many amazing physics teachers out there throughout universities, and they have videos of them doing wild things, proving laws, and it's really cool. At least to me, I think it's cool. Rebecca said, I really like The Last of Us show because they weren't afraid to tell a story in a unique way and take risks, though I haven't played the game. I have heard that they've made some changes that are pretty cool. I would not say that I will never watch The Last of Us show. I just haven't been called to watch, which is just weird because me and Mrs. Nuts are huge fans. So good sci-fi, The Dying Earth. Absolutely. Jack Vance is awesome. Cherry is pronounced cherry. Becky Chambers has some good books involving AI, says Quinn. I've not read a single word from Becky Chambers, but I know that our good friend Jared, not a fan, which I'm not sure why. He's just curmudgeon, I think. Jimmy is AI influencer. How did you know? Could you tell by the way I was like just glitching back and forth? Eric Blinn said, anyone know if there is a First Contact fantasy novel? I need some knights versus aliens in my life. So I would recommend you Richard Morgan's A Land Fit for Heroes. I DNF'd that series after book 2. There was some. I would like to go back to it because I think I would appreciate it a little bit more now. But the world building of A Land Fit for Heroes is batshit crazy and one of the coolest worlds in fantasy, period. And it has a First Contact thread that has happened already. And it is fascinating. I think that trilogy will go back on my immediate TBR by the end of the year. And if not by the end of the year, 2026, I'm going to try to reread it. And I'm going to see if I DNF for the right reasons or not. Richard Morgan has like a very distinctive style in his writing, and I was really not digging it at all by book 2, and I put it down. But I stand by the fact that I think the world building in that series, and it's a No Land Fit for Heroes is the series. The first book is called The Steel Remains, and they're very short books, which is fantastic. So, The Fireman by Joe Hill is a good post-collapse book. I could get behind that. I've always wanted to read Joe Hill. The only thing I've read from Joe Hill is Lock and Key. Wasn't that him? It was okay. I thought the opening was amazing, and then after like stuff started happening, I was like, meh, I'm over it. J.G. Ballard's apocalyptic novels are great as well. The Drowned World is my favorite. That's the next one I want to read from him. I really liked High Rise. High Rise was awesome. Let's see. Jimmy totally forgot to mention that I just bought volume 1 of Berserk, trying to decide between starting that, finishing The Great Ordeal, or starting The Devils. I suggest that you finish The Great Ordeal and then just wrap up the second apocalypse, put a bow on it, and then I would say dive into Berserk, because there will be stopping points in Berserk, and when you get to the first stopping point, you can read The Devils then. And by the way, I think you're going to like all of it. Like all of that. You're going to be down for it. Bookborn's here, blessing us with her presence. Did I make it on time for one, or has this been going for hours? It has been going for hours, but you're on the best coast time, so all is forgiven. It's totally fine. What was being talked about, A Song of Ice and Fire? I was talking about series that were like it, why it's so special to me, kind of how it stands on its own, because I've read it so many times that it just, like, there's no other series I've experienced like that. But this is really just an AMA. You can pretty much ask me anything, and I'll try to respond. Tyler S. said, hey, Jimmy, just checking in. See you in the replay later. I'll see you later. There is always A Song of Ice and Fire talk going. Always. K. Fox says, A Canticle for Leibowitz is a spectacular book that I kind of hated reading. Very well crafted, very not for me. I have heard so many people say they appreciate what it is more than the experience of reading it. I think that'll most likely be how I feel as well, but we'll see. Andre says, Lonesome Dove is objectively great. We're back on the positive side of Lonesome Dove. Someone's got a counter. It is objectively great, but Jimmy still hasn't read it. I guess it's going to take Bookborn to convince me. Bookborn said, I appreciate everyone thinks I can convince Jimmy. I like that people think I somehow have that power. You're pretty influenced. You're an influencer. You influence people. You could influence me if you really put your mind to it. I think you could do it. Shout out to Bookborn. Listens to me complain a lot out of nowhere, which is very cool of her. Very, very cool. What in the world is this? Reader's Journey says a nonfiction recommendation, the Sakura, I don't know if I'm saying that, Obsession. It's about cherry trees. So good. There's no way a book about cherry trees can be good, so now I have to read this. I'm not going to, but like I should. Maybe I'll get on Audible. How long is it? Is it long? Dark One Saint said, I just finished the first episode of Andor today. The MF was boring as hell, but I'll give it a shot. Oh, man. Always here for a good Star Wars dunking. Hobo Giant says, I read Overstory years ago and still think about it. When I was reading it, I was enjoying it, but I didn't think I would be thinking about it so much. Weird how that happens. Yeah, those are the books to me that always raise, like in ratings or in standing in my head, if it just randomly comes up. This is actually like Annihilation and Born by Vandermeer. I think those are that's just an author that has just not left my mind since I've read him, but I don't even talk about him that much, you know? So Matt says Becky Chambers is cozy as F. Not for you, Jimmy, I think. Okay. Oh, Belltube, my butler's here. He said, sir, which of your many, many editions of the Kama Sutra would you like me to set aside for your read-along? Long sigh. Brian, I think you know which one. The one that's hard to open. Oh, my goodness. First Contact Fantasy that Brian Rogers is suggesting is called Ethelheim by Michael Flynn. Why does that sound so familiar? Either someone I know has just read that or I have it. Probably both, to be honest. Let's see. Jared doesn't like women writers, uses Le Guin as a shield. I see through it, though. Well, he also likes Hilary Mantel, so you have a really tough time backing that up, I think, to be honest. Matt on Books, Feist, Magician, and Riffle books are basically fantasy First Contact. You know, I actually have the broken bindings because I'm on the subscription, and I was like, maybe I will finally read about Pug, the worst fantasy protagonist name of all time. So bad. It's like Pug and then Dutiful. Reading with Rebecca Nicole says, First Contact Rec to be taught, if fortunate, by Becky Chambers. I think it might be one of hers that you'd like the most. So if I was going to try Becky Chambers, that would probably be the place to start. Very cool. Bookborn said, to be taught, if fortunate, is the only good thing I've read by Becky Chambers. So this is reinforcing the fact that if I were ever to try to give this a go, give old Becky Chambers a spin, that would be the one that I should start with, which would be cool. Fabled Reader said, long way to a small angry planet was a long way to a 1-star review for me. Oh, that was so good. Noel said, have you gotten Sir Jimmy his Manscaped sponsor yet? I actually did have a Manscaped sponsorship on Bend the Knee, the Song of Ice and Fire podcast. And whew, man, we had some good times. We had some good times. A lot of those ad reads didn't make the cut. They were left on the cutting room floor, unfortunately. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Joe Hill's the Lock and Key guy. Yeah, I know he's Stephen King's son. Yeah, Lock and Key, I just thought the opening was so good. And then they got into the plot and I was over it, which is unfortunate. Bookmore said, how dare you call me an influencer, Jimmy? We aren't friends anymore. Listen, I just call them how's I sees them, okay? And when I think Bookborn, I think influencer. That's just how it is. I don't have to tell you. Like, what would you call yourself? And if you say content creator, I am going to blow my brains out on this live stream. Bookborn is a girl boss. Finger paint emoji, for sure. JCM Burns says, Andor is nothing like anything else in Disney Star Wars. For me, I'm not like one of these people who like hate Disney or anything. I just don't really like Star Wars all that much. Like I've watched most of them, but it's just I just don't have any passion for it, you know. Unfortunately. Man Punches Spaceship has entered the chat. Yo, Joe. K Fox said, Jimmy, if you read a book about trees that isn't the Overstory, oh, this is the cherry tree nonfiction, I will be mildly disappointed. I will read the Overstory before I read the nonfiction about cherry trees. Okay. You have it on my honor that will happen. David Seawer said, maybe this is what you needed for the slump Jimbo Rex on Rex. So yes, but the problem is if my library does not have these books, then I would have to buy them. And I've been doing really well at not buying as many books. Like I've bought way less books this year, just trying to work through so many of these awesome ones that I haven't read. So Mitch said, Jimmy, I read East Blue Saga of One Piece and think many people are capping for views. Ain't no way they like those 15 chapter fight scenes drawn by 5th graders with their offhands. It gets better. You just got to read 360 chapters. I did like East Blue Saga. The ending's tremendous. Interesting. Daniel says Andor is kind of like the Watchmen version of Star Wars, which is arguably not true to the Star Wars vision, but the rest of Disney Star Wars is like the Muppet Babies version of Star Wars. So, Jamin, or Jamin, I'm not sure which one it goes by. Jimmy, I'm at the early part of the video. Maybe try Philip K. Dick. Short books, always fun concepts, with not a ton of depth. If you haven't read Dr. Blood Money. I've not read Dr. Blood Money, but I've read Ubik and Man in the High Castle, and I loved both of those books a lot. Like a lot. So, there's rumblings of a folio edition for the Kama Sutra. All right, let's go. Butler Belltube says, very good, sir. I shall endeavor to find the crowbar. If someone's like following these, it's so good. This is so good. I think Grag is a pretty bad fantasy name too. I was thinking of that during Mad Ship. Yeah, Robin Hobb has notoriously bad names. Let's be fair. Like there's some I like. Okay, King Shrewd, like that's cool. Whatever, whatever. But she has a lot of duds. There's a lot of turds in that one, unfortunately. Bookborn, the name Kenneth in Live Ships ended me. Like why? Kyle is also a very popular name in fantasy books. If we're flinging nonfiction Rex, Betrayal in Berlin was a good one. I just finished Cold War Spies, a jailbreak and man shaped like a pear. You got me. Honestly, that does sound pretty good. DK Moon says, first time reading Feist right now. I'm on the end of Darkness at Setheron, 4th book. It is dated, but pretty good. Okay. Very cool. ADHD Reader says, Becky Chambers is a blight on sci-fi. I threw her book across the room with A Long Way to the Small Angry Planet. Worst book I've ever read. Not because of all the angry woke decrier. It's just a bad book. Okay. Passionate. I respect it. Bookborn influences me all the time, says famous author J.C.M. Byrne. Also martial artist. Very, very, very influential is that Bookborn. Reader's Journey says, I think it's time to get into the Warhammer books. I don't know why. I do have one of them. I don't know which one it is. Daniel asks, if Bookborn jumped off a cliff, would you jump off too? I would just toss myself off. I would say, would you like me to hit something on the way down or wait to the finish? wait till the ground comes up to meet me, if you will. This is so mean. Jose says, the popularity of Star Wars makes me believe in collective delirium. Evie says, there's a reading project for you. Read the Overstory, then read the Cherry Tree nonfiction. Is it like a George Washington type thing or no? I'm not sure. Reader's Journey says, standing up for the Cherry Tree book. It's the single most beautiful book cover I've ever seen. So is this a cover buy? Like, were you like, I gotta have it. It's about cherry trees, but I gotta have it. And StoryTube, which is Carlos right now, said, one of the lads I worked with in the bookshop basement loves Overstory, but he also talked to trees outside and to people who weren't there. I'm not sure if I should read this book. Lauren says, hi, Jimmy. Have you ever read Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino? It's short and pretty different. It could be a decent slump buster. So a while back, I went into my Patreon Discord and I said, hey, everyone recommend me a book that's 200 pages or less. And I was like, not 201, not 202, literally has to be 200 pages or less. And Invisible Cities was one of the first books that came up. And I believe I bought it, or it might be on ebook. So I do have it. And you know what? I might just look into that. If I can finish this book that Jordan had recommended me on last episode of Chatting with Nuts, and I have some time left, that could be it. It'll be good. Tyler says, Hims hasn't come back to sponsor the pod again, Jimmy? No. Blue Chew all day. K Fox says, my PKD rec is a scanner. Darkly, and then watch the movie. Yeah, I think that was the one I was supposed to read next, and then I was going to have a discussion with Gregory B. Sadler because we did Man in the High Castle, which is, again, one of my very favorite things that I've actually got a chance to do here on the channel. It was pretty great. There's also some love for Calvino in the chat. Loved If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. That's a great name for a book, as is Invisible Cities, to be honest with you. We need more French names in fantasy. I think Empire of the Vampires got you covered. I'm pretty sure that it has a ton of French names or French words in it, I think. Jason Burns says the best fights is still the books Janie Warts wrote. I really would love to read that trilogy at some point. I was supposed to like 3 years ago, and then, I didn't. So. But Bookborn never answered. If she wasn't an influencer, what is she? And she's not allowed to say content creator. She never answered me. I'm waiting. I'm literally waiting right now. Kyle means straight in Gaelic, so I can see why Hobb chose that name for her nautical fantasy story. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Sir Jordan Drew, our boy, said there's a lot of Becky Chambers hate here, but I got to say her Monk and Robot duology is definitely a series that is at least satisfactory. So you have it here first from Jordan. Jordan, I picked up the Blue Book of Naboo or whatever that you recommended. I think it was you. And I am halfway through it, and I need to finish it, but I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for the recommendation. We were talking about how I wanted to read more books like journal entries and stuff, and then you were like, oh, and it's also like post-societal collapse. And I was like, I'm in. And then you were like, it's also in the Welsh countryside. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm still in. It's been great so far. Anita says, Kenneth can go burn in hell. Hi, Anita. How's it going? Bookborn is hating on Becky Chambers. Hate to see it. Hobo Giant says, why the Star Wars hate? What is not to love about Captain Kirk, Spock, and the gang fighting the Empire? Solid. Honestly, surprised someone didn't do it sooner. Fantastic. Okay. Bean says, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Mage's Blood by David Hare whenever you get around to it, and if you feel inclined to talk about it. It'll definitely be something I talk about when I read it. Basically, that and Rune Lords were the two series that I wanted to try to start this year. Obviously, I'm starting Rune Lords next month. If I can open up some time for a series, I will absolutely check it out. Whatever, if I like it or hate it, you'll know for sure. Rebecca said, I'm not surprised that Becky Chambers is a miss with Jimmy's audience, but a long way to a small and angry planet got me into science fiction fantasy, so I'm ignoring the hate. And that is all that matters. Everyone can have their own experience with the book, and you never know what book can change the trajectory, not only your reading life, but your life in general, which is kind of the magic of it all, right? Let's see. I'm trying. Oh, David said, sad about Hobb naming things because naming is so relevant in her books. Lol. Yeah, well, her book titles are not great either. ADHD reader says, Jimmy, Empire of the Vampire is the worst French representation. It's the only one I knew of. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. A Reader's Journey is now, I believe, quoting the Cherry Tree book. Said the incredible and improbable story of how an English eccentric saved Japan's beloved cherry blossoms from extinction. Cherry blossoms are kind of monumental to me. I got engaged to Mrs. Nuts at the Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington, D.C. I proposed to her under one because she loves them. And so we've always really loved cherry blossoms. It's been kind of a thing for us. It's just so funny. I recommended Empire of the Vampire, and he's like, that's literally the worst French representation. What are you doing? Bookborn says, okay. Is that like the con? Okay. So I guess influencer is technically correct, but that word makes me think I should be on TikTok pimping water bottles. Okay, first off, water bottles, great accessory. Okay, I don't know why you're hating on water bottles, but I mean, you do a little Instagram. I mean, Instagram, you're a millennial, so you're expected to be on Instagram, not TikTok, and you're there. I think you being an influencer is a great thing. You're a great influence. I wish we had more influencers like you. You're fantastic. Don't change. Don't change for anything. I don't use content creator often, but I'll admit I do. Generally, I just say book reviewer. You can say content creator. I was just teasing you. I kind of wanted to see what you would go with, but I in my back of my mind, I was thinking you would say like book personality or something, but book reviewer would also work for that. I mean, you do so many topical videos that I think that's what people, at least that's what I imagine. Like when I think of a Bookborn video, I think of the the topic videos, because every time I watch one, I go, whoo, she's brave for talking about this online where people can comment. Couldn't be me. Not brave enough, to be honest. Is Jimmy almost caught up? I think so. Jordan says, the blue book is so thoughtful. I really, it's like, it's going to be a bit of a hard pitch for people because not a lot's happening in it, but I just love that form of story. And obviously, in being in like a post-apocalypse, post-collapse society is really cool. I also was reading another book at the same time that is like a post-fascist takeover in Ireland. And the blue book was so much more of what I wanted to be reading at the time, even though I liked the other book. So it's kind of interesting how they both felt similar in some ways. Daniel says, if you're not pimping water bottles on TikTok, then who made this bookborn sippy cup I bought? Oh, hey, Anitha said, let me say something positive. Let's try it. I love the book I'm reading, which is City of Blades. Yeah, that is, what's his name? Robert Jackson Bennett. I knew it was three. David Hare Quartet got weird later on. The spice obsession got annoying. We'll have to see. I like weird. I'm a big fan of weird, which is why I love China Mieville so very much. Bitter Draft said, I actually quite liked Mage's Blood series. Back when I blogged, I got a quote on the third book in that series. Well, that's pretty cool. Very cool. I'm excited to read it. I read the first or the prologue or something whenever I got the book, and I loved the writing, and it sounded immensely interesting. So I have high hopes for that. I know Andy Smith, who's been, by the way, back on BookTube making content. I might bring him back on to talk to him, and he's a big fan of the series. So I would love to read it and then be able to talk to him about that. Butler Belltube's back said, sparing the details, the crowbar was insufficient for the task. Shall endeavor to assemble a rope and pulley system. Maybe try magnets. How do those work? Daniel says, it's been so long since I read the Moontide Quartet, which, by the way, is Mage's Blood. That's the series. I could probably go for reading it again. I don't have those books anymore, though. I think my ex-girlfriend got them. Damn it. They always take what means the most. It's a shame. Jimmy, you would love City of Blades. It's darker than stairs. I really want to read that series. I know that Robert Jackson Bennett isn't like, the greatest wordsmith of all time or anything, but I just really enjoy his world building a lot. Mrs. Nutt said, I do love cherry blossoms. Some Okidu said, I hate TikTok. How fashionable. So Christoph actually reviewed his own book. Yes, he did. It is true. I have the worst kink in my neck right now. It is so bad because I'm turning my head like this so often. It's very bad. Do I get workers' comp for my own YouTube channel? Is that possible? Flying Scroll said, no Osnar content for me today. Rip. I should make more, to be honest. Bookborn said, personality might be worse than influencer. So that's what I'll call you from now on. Oh, she Bookborn? Oh, yeah, she's a book personality. She has a personality about books. It's great. Hey, JC and Byrne says, yes, Bookborn's long-form essay videos are the best. Genuinely appreciate them, and I'm always impressed that she's willing to wade the fires. Dark One State said, bro, I think most of us are millennials. Yeah, based on my analytics, the last time I looked, which was a while ago, most people are between like 25 to 34. And then there's a lot of Zoomers. Which I don't know why. I can't imagine kids enjoying what I have to say at all. Jimmy, great that part reference. Appreciate it. Daniel said, I don't think Moontide gets weird in a way that you like, Jimmy. Not that it gets bad, but it's not that kind of weird. Oh. There's not like moths that like eat reality. That's a shame. Bookborn said, so funny when you said you liked weird. I was going to ask if you read this book by China, and then you mentioned him. I read my first book of his, and it was certainly strange. Which book of his did you read? Because I've read The City in the City and the Baslag books, which there are 3 of, and I love all 4 of them. They're so good. Of the 3 Baslag and City in the City. So good. I would be curious what you read. Oh, Book of Elsewhere. I read that. Okay. Probably not I haven't read it, but from what I know from medieval people, it's not the best place to start, but you started, which is good. I think I would love. I feel like I'm like having a personal conversation with Bookborn right now. I would love if you read Perdido Street Station and talked to me about it. Specifically just me. I think you will agree that there's like messy parts that aren't like there's a lot going on, and I think he gets a little lost in the shuffle. But I think like when you finished it, you would finish and be like, okay, wow, and we would have a great conversation about it. I think afterwards, which would be cool. Lauren Spears said, I just finished Embassy Town by Mieville and liked it a lot less than the others that I've read. I've heard that from multiple people, but I would love to read everything that he's written. Maybe not all of his nonfiction stuff. David said, Jimmy, you know what would beat your reading slump? Watching Lost. I doubt it. I bet you China Mieville is going to be my new obsession. I hope so. I would love to see more and more Mieville love. It'd be fantastic. Daniel said, I still have like 1,000 books, literally, so I probably shouldn't complain about the 4 that I've already, it's always the chase that gets us. It's the chase. It's whenever your 2 kids are playing with a toy, one takes it away, and then the other one's like, hey, I wanted that, even though they weren't playing with it. Yeah. Butler Belltube said, I penciled in a lesson on magnetism into your Tuesday afternoon. Well, thank you. Are you moving back fencing? That should be smashing. Jose said, speaking of quartets, the LA one is great. Started to read because it's one of Abercrombie's biggest influences. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I think Abercrombie's a cool author to listen to just because he references a lot of stuff outside, obviously, of the genre that has influenced him. And you can see that all over the standalone novels for sure. Brent says, finished a reread of The Running Man this week. Seems like a King Bachman book Jimmy would dig, and only like 300 pages. Yeah, The Running Man and The Long Walk are 2 of the Kings that I would really like to read on a whim. Like I don't have many plans. I have to read The Shining next. Like it's mandatory. I have to read it. I've been talking about it for so long. Like I have to read The Shining and then Dr. Sleep. And then maybe I would check out Running Man and The Long Walk. It'd be pretty cool. Yoga, Jimmy. We spent several minutes on neck stretches this morning. So I'm a big fan of yoga. I stretch 20, 30 minutes every single day. I just happen to be overtraining far too often, unfortunately. Yoga with Adrienne is a great YouTube channel for any aches and pains. She is pretty great. Necks are Jimmy's kink. You heard it here first. I got the scoop, my friend. Pretty fantastic. We Gen Z love sucking diesel with the ancients. Hey, thanks, Beps. I appreciate that. Hey, you know what? I am not one of these people that will ever fall into like the generational hatred thing. I think it's it feels all manufactured. Like it feels so cliche to like hate the generation beneath you. I don't know why it bothers me. And I see so many people complaining about like the youngest generation and how they read, what they read. And it's like, guys, we're lucky they're reading it all. So we should encourage them. We should welcome them. We should listen to them too. Because it's a different perspective. They've grown up in a totally different world. I could go on, and this is outside of books too. I just see people like, I remember being hated on as a millennial, and now I'm seeing my millennial counterparts hate on the next generation. And I'm like, did you not learn anything from what we went through? Like, you have to stop it. You have to break the wheel. Okay. I will, Jimmy. You looked right at me, and now I feel obligated. You are obligated. No rush on it, but if you do, or when you do, I would very much appreciate being a part of that dialogue. It would be good. Reader's Journey said, City in the City ending was butt cheeks, though. I didn't think it was all that bad. I know, like, I saw you said you were a big fan of Donahue. I know Donahue hates that ending. I've read way worse endings than that, personally. So for me, it's like middle of the road, I would say. 30 on the button, late stage millennial? I don't know, actually. Sid said, +1 yoga with Adrienne. Yeah, as a free resource, that's about as good as it gets. I really like DDP yoga for obvious reasons. Yes, Marcus Wester. Thank you. This is another character from The Dagger and the Coin that I shouted out. And Kinetic Literature is the #1 fan of Dagger and the Coin, like easily. And I was hoping that they would chime in, and they did. Derry said, I broke a tooth this morning. This aging thing is brutal. I'm sorry. That sucks. It's the worst. Sid said the Hyperion series is a great on reread as we enter this AI world. I don't want to enter it. I really don't want to. Oh, more love for LA Confidential. Very cool. Ross said, I got 80% through Kraken by China Miéville and ran out of steam. It was just too odd. Yeah, I've heard that's the densest book that he's written, which is saying a lot. Because, like, none of his books come easy, I don't think. Well, kind of. Rompy said, currently reading The Unholy Consult, and I have a feeling I will be in a giant reading slump like you after I finish it. I was. Yeah, when I finished the second Apocalypse, I was like, okay. That was monumental for me as a reader, and it's over. What do I do now with my hands? I don't know. Sid said I had just finished it. Surprised how much I liked the book. I like it too. There's parts I really don't like, but I do like it. Quinn's reading The Shining, rubbing it in. Very nice. 100 pages left, and it's great. Very cool. James Elroy has some wild books. I have a couple of his on my shelves. I've heard very, very good stuff about it. Brendan Park said, how far are you into Tyrant Philosophers? I'm about halfway through book 2. What is Tyrant Philosophers? What is this? Oh, it's by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I'm not in it. I'm not far into it at all because I've never started it. I know I mentioned maybe trying to read it, but I haven't started it yet. I have the first book, and I think maybe no, I only have book 1, so won't be too bad. Well, Anitha said 30 wasn't so bad, but things started going downhill at 34. Well, I'm 34, so that sucks. Reader's Journey said, I'm imagining Jimmy as Batman and Belltube as Alfred. Fantastic. I absolutely love it. If they read, it's awesome. Speaking of the younger generation, that's right. It does not matter what it is. I don't care. I literally don't care. We need more people in the conversation. We really do. Belltube said, I really do not know how you functioned before me. Your fencing was moved to Thursday as you found it disagreeable with your Monday evening beef Wellington. Then the laundry agreed. Yes, and please do not forget the sticky toffee pudding this time. Brian, thank you. Bro, the Zoomer brains are cooked. Rip America. I was talking about James Elroy and heard he's amazing. Elroy's newer book, and it had so much 50s and 60s cool cat slang, I could barely read it. I guess at least he's writing accurate, right? I guess. Same, but what about the generations before? Hey, I can't answer to them. Reader's Journey said, I'm in a school with a bunch of Gen Zers right now. They're all surprisingly cool, except they all play some game called I don't know what that is. I feel like I'm probably not supposed to read that. I feel like this is this a troll? Are you trolling me? Is this like some hentai game that I shouldn't mention? Sean said, it's just the cycle of life, Jimmy. Yeah, if you're willing to go along with it. For me, I just look at it as another way of dividing all of us, which I hate. I hate that so very much. Flying Squirrel said, no, keep talking about stuff like this. It's great. You got good thoughts. I don't know if I have good thoughts, but I have thoughts. Jimmy for mayor, Gen Zers for Jimmy Nuts. That's pretty funny. K Fox said, yeah, people who complain about the younger generations really grind my gears. I work at a university, and the Gen Z students coming through are fantastic. I love working with them. I just know that through people in my field that there are some absurdly talented and bright kids out there. And actually, there's a kid I run into on the golf course all the time, and he's so good at golf, and he's very, very bright. You can just tell he has a great head on his shoulders. And I'm just like, yeah, more kids like that, and we'll be okay. Maybe. Possibly, if there's any world. I haven't read a page in almost 2 months. I'm 1/3 of the way through Reaper's Gale. I will gladly accept encouragement to continue. The ending is phenomenal. The ending of Reaper's Gale is amazing. And Reaper's Gale was my least favorite Malazan book until I finished it and talked about it. And I realized, I was like, wait, I think that book was actually sick. And it took me a while to appreciate it, but I really did come to love it. So Dagger in the Coin love. I love to see it. I love to see it. Bookborn said, I'm so glad I caught some of this, but I have to go. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Bookborn. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I do. Yeah. More people have actually, like, there are more people who have read Dagger in the Coin than I realize. Brendan Park said, thought you were reading it. My bad. Yo, you're good. You're good. I more so was like, that's a sick name. Tyrant Philosophers. Like, that's a really cool name. What is that? I do plan on reading, what is it? City of Last Chances. Yeah, I do plan on reading that at some point. People are leaving because Bookborn left. That is like the ultimate influence. She's sabotaging my stream, which is ridiculously rude. Flying Squirrel said, Second Apocalypse legit cognito hazard. Is a cognito hazard, one of the few fantasy books to profoundly affect my attitudes and my emotions long term. That's pretty powerful. Interesting. Sid said, I'm reading this book called The Team of Rivals, The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln, How Kindness and Empathy Can Be Political Levers, similar to how Dalinar united the kingdoms in Stormlight. Very cool. Very, very cool. I mentioned toffee pudding as a joke, and Sarah Beth loves it, so that's nice. I like that. Beef Wellington followed by sticky toffee pudding. How common? Everyone knows you follow Beef Wellington with Eton mess. So I only know that because of Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, which his famous dish is Beef Wellington, and then the dessert they serve you is a sticky toffee pudding, which is insanely good. Like, it's upsetting how good it is. Honestly. Ross said, one of my favorite things about history is going back and seeing ancient Rome complaining about how the younger generations aren't real Romans. It always makes me chuckle. There are actually newspaper clippings in America from like the late 1800s all the way to now. And about every 10 years, the newspaper says like the new generation is awful. It will doom us. They have no ethics. They have no morals. They never want to work. And they were saying this about the generations in 1890. They said about in 1910 and so on and so forth. And obviously one of those generations is considered the greatest generation. A lot of people, worked really hard. And specifically, this is in America. It's like to give us the way of life that we have. But back then, people were like, oh, these kids don't want to work. It's like, can you not see past your damn nose? Please. Brendan says, I don't have any problems with the younger generations per se. I do think in modern society we spend too much time looking at screens, perhaps more so the younger generations. You and I are the same age, almost exactly. Yeah, I mean, I used to like lose my phone for a day at a time because I would never be on it until I created a YouTube channel. And I'll be honest, like that's the most negative part about this, doing this. You know, I've been very fortunate to meet some amazing people and to have just a community to go to and to voice my opinions. I've been having like a tough time, and being able to come here is pretty amazing. But like the one thing that sucks is being connected all the time. I do feel connected. I feel a responsibility to kind of be in the know. I will say I've been stepping back a little bit more lately, just because it's like I had to. But it has now like reprogram my brain to pick up my cell phone. And that sucks because that is not who I was 6 years ago. But I do think the trade-off at this point is still worth it. So David Seaver said, Jimmy, curious why you didn't love Pillars of the Earth. Haven't read it. I wanted to give you his Century Trilogy, or I wanted you to give Century Trilogy a try. It was my Patreon pick, and I definitely won't meet the incoming limit. So I will read more Ken Follett. I did not like Pillars of the Earth because, one, it was entirely too long. I didn't really like his writing all that much. And I thought that the antagonist, at that point when I was reading, it was like the third book in a row that had a like sociopathic rapist for an antagonist. And I was just like kind of over it. Like I was like, and also like so many people compare it to like A Song of Ice and Fire, which is annoying. Not saying there isn't similarities, but it's like I don't know. People, I got to tell you this. If you suggest me reading something and you say, hey, this is just like A Song of Ice and Fire, you're basically dooming the book. It's you don't want to do that to me. One, I don't believe you ever. And two, I'm probably going to end up disliking it just because I'm going to be comparing it the whole time. But for me, yeah, I just didn't think Follett's writing was all that interesting. Some of the Gothic architecture was kind of cool. But I was like really out even on like the first part of the book where like, you know, I feel like I could say because it's in the first chapter, but like dude leaves baby on grave, meets woman. They have like the whole thing. I don't know. I didn't like it. Didn't like it. Not that I will not try any more Ken Follett. I will. And also, by the way, you can have an antagonist that is a sociopathic abuser. That is possible. And there are books I've enjoyed that have featured those type of characters, and I love to hate them or whatever. But at that moment, I had read far too many, and it just came across like very like, okay, I'm supposed to hate this guy. Obviously, I will. So I don't know. Didn't like it. Wasn't super impressed by it. Evie says 5 spot. Thank you, Evie. It's very kind of you. Jimmy, I feel like you know my taste well enough. Recommend a book to me. No parameters. Evie, I do not know your taste at all. I thought you were a lock for Gardens of the Moon, and then you DNF'd it and said that it was a Bad Black Company ripoff or something, right? Evie, if you have never read Dunk and Egg, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, that is my suggestion to you. It's a collection of 3 novellas, and it takes place about 90 or 100 years before the events of Game of Thrones, and I think you would really, really like it. Sir Jordan Drew said, Team of Rivals is astounding. The Bully Pulpit by the same author is also amazing. Okay, I will take note. Some people backing that up too, which is pretty good. Foundry Side. Okay, very cool. How has Claire Obscure been treating you, Jimmy? I love it, but I am a weirdo. I will start a game, and then I won't finish it for like 2 years. So who knows when I'll finish it. But yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to completely change the way we can't really call it a JRPG, but like turn-based RPGs it's turning into something new and very, very exciting in my opinion. I loved it, which is great. Dark One Snake says, I feel that I had a lot going on. Unfortunately, I also had to drop a lot of stuff to focus on just a handful of things. It sucks. It makes me feel guilty, but the alternative is worse. Yeah. Sid said, any books with good jujitsu apart from the combat codes? It's not a book, but Attack on Titan. The Titans do some jujitsu. There's a Kimura in there. It's pretty sick, actually. I really, really like that scene. It's great. Oh, man. Breaking Spine says, Jimmy, your reviews of A Song of Ice and Fire with Leanna and Alex were peak. I still rewatch them from time to time, so thanks. Yeah, those were a lot of fun. We drank a lot when we did those. I think those are the only streams I've ever really done intoxicated, which is, yikes. Ordering Dunk and Egg now, never read A Song of Ice and Fire, let's go. I thought you had. You know what? I'm standing 10 toes down on this one. I think Dunk and Egg is still fine for you to read, personally. And if not that, I would demand for you to read Sand Kings. Claire Obscure is the best music. Yeah, the soundtrack is just absurdly good. It's so good. To be fair, I don't even know my own taste. I kind of feel this way too. There's nothing worse when everyone expects you to like a book. Actually, Pillars of the Earth would be an example. Everyone was like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna be 5 stars," and I didn't like it. And like, you almost feel like you're letting people down or something. But like, what can you do? You just gotta say it how you see it. Am I right or am I right? Brendan says, yeah, my PC backlog of unfinished, unstarted games is around 60 or so. I have more than that. Any news on the new Rockio book? I don't know. I think it's coming out this year, right? I think the final book is coming out this year. I have not read Disquiet Gods. I was not as big as everyone else on books 4 and 5, specifically 5. So I haven't read Disquiet Gods yet, but I've had people who had the same experience as me really like Disquiet Gods, which is actually very encouraging. I fear the ending of Sun Eater because I hope it doesn't go where I think it's going to go, because I won't like it. Jimmy's on a comment that's still on my screen. I know, right? I did good. Thornall says, damn the rest of the series, I want more Dunk and Egg. If he released and finished Dunk and Egg and never gave me Wins a Winner, I would forgive him for it, to be honest with you. Ken Follett's, I think, only nonfiction is about Ross Perot's workers in Iran being kidnapped during the Iranian Revolution. He says, I'm going to go over there and put a stop to this, and does. Crazy story. Now that sounds pretty interesting. Okay, I gave up on Station 11 because the Christian cult antagonist trope feels so overdone to me. Not sure how big of a part it played in the overall book, but it just wasn't interested. Hey, that's fair. Like if it's using something that you've seen, I mean, it's like me with academies and such, or the murderous bullies. You know, I'm just, you know, those are things I'm not super intrigued. I, however, am always down for a good Christian cult dunking. I love it. Jimmy, have you read A Fine Balance? It's gut punchy. I know you've read Ohio and My Dark Vanessa. No, I haven't. Let me look this up. Is this disturbing? Let's see. 1995, An Undefined City in India. Okay. I won't read more about this, but I can tell you that it sounds interesting because I don't know a ton. I've never read a book based in India. So that's kind of intriguing to me. I will look it up. Butler Belltube says, I shall note one Dr. Philip Chase absence from your performance this evening. Yes, and send him a wishing well card to make sure that him and his family is fine. And then threaten him, of course. I started Red Dead twice in 5 years, never got past the train robbery. It picks up after that. Actually, it doesn't, but it's better after that, I think. Let's see. Sid said, I'm not sure if you've heard of this Indian author, Amish, but I read the first book in the Ramayana popular adaptation Ram Sita Ravan trilogy. If I'm mispronouncing these, I apologize. It had some great Indian philosophy. Very cool. Very, very cool. And Daniel says, yeah, this last Sun Eater book is done. Okay. Very cool. Kinetic Literature said, I heard Brandon Sanderson is a big fan of the Bible sequel. It's a fantastic burn. Jimmy, don't read the Gap Cycle. I'm going to read the Gap Cycle. I'm not going to lie to you. That's the Donaldson I'm most interested in reading, actually. Okay, Shadows Upon Time has a November release date. So the final book of Sun Eater is coming out, and it's coming out in November. You didn't like Pillars of Earth, you'll hate Gap Cycle. Maybe. Maybe. Probably. Oh, Simon Dinosaur with the 5 spot. You guys are being super generous. Jimmy, do you have a recommendation that is like A Song of Ice and Fire, but is less grimdark and is not willing to deal with time? I didn't upstairs because it was very bloody and long. The Dagger and the Coin by Daniel Abraham. That's like that's exactly it. If you're looking for like epic fantasy that's huge, and you're not, the fact I hesitate to recommend you Mary Sar and Thorn and just all of Ostenar because they're sequels and you should read them because it's so big. But if you are down to read, I mean, thousands of pages of chunkers, then I would recommend the Ostenar series by Tad Williams. But I think a really good one to bite into that's snappier and gets done in and out pretty quick. It's 5 books, but they're all short. Would be The Dagger and the Coin, personally. Three Body Problem and A Song of Ice and Fire are the same. When I said that, I was like, I know there's got to be at least one person that could tie these together, and I'm sure I could if I really thought about it. I have caught up with the chat, and it seems like a pretty good time for me to. Oh, okay. Monica says, character on the floor laughing really hard. Character on the floor laughing really hard. 10 spot. Thank you for the 10 spot. I'm trying to it's a super. Oh, it's a super sticker. I was like, what does this mean? But it's giving me the alt text because my software can't see the super sticker. Let me open it up in another tab. I want to see the super sticker. I was so confused. I was like, what does this mean? Okay, that's a pretty good super sticker. I like it. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. Everyone that's did super chats and stuff tonight, like, you don't need to do that, but it certainly helps and is very much appreciated. So thank you. Brent said, the Gap Cycle was awesome. Great politics and scheming, but the first book's a bit rough, but it's short. Cool. Bitter Draft said, how long does Simon stay young in the first Ostenard book? I'm not the biggest fan of the very beginnings of coming of age story. Yeah, it's definitely coming of age. But the sequels, well, the sequels aren't. How about that? Okay. Does that work? Eric Blinn said, just order Grim Oaks Press Valor and reminiscing of the high pace racing to catch up with Faithful and Fallen live chats like 5 years ago. Good times. Those were good times, dude. That was like, everything was so exciting at that point. It was so much fun. Oh, that was the auto message. I see. I got you. It's an animated sticker, Jimmy. Yeah, it took me a second to understand what was happening. I really appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Sid said, great stuff, Jimmy. Always great to see you thriving. Much love to you, brother. I don't feel like I'm thriving. I feel like I'm dying inside. But the good news is that this was a lot of fun and lifted my spirits. I kind of wanted to just do a solo episode. It's like, there's no like scheduling or anything, and like I just was very much not interacting with other human beings most of this week. Just trying to piece myself together. But yeah, I really love these solo streams. I actually would like to do these more often. I can't believe it was like 20 episodes since I had done this or something like that. I mean, it was a significant amount of time. But you guys are awesome, and very much appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate all the recommendations. Mrs. Nuts writes them down, or Evie does sometimes, and I take them all to heart. Really, I feel like I've gotten some of my best recommendations just from people saying, "Hey, have you ever heard of this very obscure thing?" And I'm like, "No, but I will read it." The fine line or fine balance. Very intrigued by this. I need to look up more. But yes, thanks for being here with Chatting with Nuts. You guys always make a great guest. You guys always ask really great questions, and I'm always happy to answer them. I actually had questions for chat tonight written down, one big one, but we didn't get to it. So tune in next time, because I have a question that I wanted to ask chat and get answers from, but I was busy answering all of you. And I appreciate all the well wishes. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me, guys. But thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your Friday night. And let's give a big shout out to the butler, Belltube, with his final message. Ahem. Bath is ready, sir. Heated towels are a bit lukewarm. Will remedy whilst you have your soak. I appreciate that. Belltube, one of the most legendary commenters, booktubers in this generation. Go do something nice for somebody else. Go read some good books. I'm going to get out of this slump. I'm going to be back in roughly 10 days. The In a Nutshell stream to wrap up will not be on a Friday. It will be on like a Monday or Tuesday, just because of the way things are going to work out for me. I can't stream on July 4th. I'm playing in a golf tournament, which is pretty exciting. My first one ever, which is cool. But so look out for the In a Nutshell thing. It's going to be on an off night. It will probably be 7:30, but it will probably be like a Monday or Tuesday. And even though it's been a slumpy month, there is still a lot to say about the books that I did read. Probably be like 4 or 5 books on that. I mean, it's not much of a slump. The slump is more of like a mood thing rather than like I didn't get anything read. It's just like, I want to read. What do I read? I don't know. StoryTube says, what an awful stream. I hated it. Sleep well, Jimbo. You too, Carlos. I appreciate you. But thanks for being here. Thanks for being the next guest. I hope to see you on In a Nutshell. And we will be back very, very shortly. We get some guests lined up that are going to be a lot of fun. And we're quickly approaching episode 100, which is going to be a pretty big milestone. And yeah, took almost 6 years to get there, but we got there. So thank you so much all for being here. And thanks for tuning in. If you hit like, it helps out the channel quite a bit. You can also hit dislike if you didn't like the stream. You can hit subscribe. If you loved it and it's your first time, I'd love to have you back for sure. Tell a friend about the show. You know, I think that I offer something that's pretty fun here, and I'd love to have new people popping in if they can. So if you know a book lover or someone who just likes to listen to a guy go off the rails, I'm your guy. Okay. There's a Patreon in the description. It's optional, but always appreciated. Until we see you next time, be good, be safe, and remember to always keep turning the page.